Everybody. Today we're going to talk about some of the Epstein leaks, the files. I guess I wouldn't call them leaks, more like a release, 3 million emails, etc., from the Justice Department given to us. A lot of people have been asking me what I think about it, and I'm going to go over a few, show a little clip of a video I made about the top 10 emails that I found the most fascinating, and there's a lot more. So I would like for you guys to join along with the show and tell me which emails you found the craziest, because there's millions of them. So I want to read some of your comments as well, read the super chats to the show. And that's what it's going to be about. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I appreciate you.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's up, Facebook? What's up, YouTube? What's up, Rumble? And anyone else listening anywhere else? Appreciate y'all so much. And, before we get into it, because I did make a video about this, and I'm going to play just a few clips as people kind of trickle in and just as a baseline of where I'm at. But I did do a top 10 craziest Epstein email list, and I put it out on YouTube. For those wondering, it disappeared. I think it had like 20,000 views in like a day. And I realized I made a slight error. So that's the reason I took it down. I'm just letting you guys know. I probably didn't have to in hindsight. I could have left it up and just edited it within YouTube, which honestly, I wish I would have done. But, I thought David Stern was the former NBA commissioner who's now deceased, but it wasn't at all. It was a different David Stern. So I didn't want to have any inaccuracies in my video. So I took it down and just re-uploaded it with, just saying David Stern's name, who's a different David Stern, not the famous NBA commissioner. So that's why the video came down, but it's not really a big deal. Sorry, I don't know if people even care about this, but, I uploaded a shorter version on Facebook, Instagram, and it's got like almost like 500,000 views there. So I kind of unfortunately had to axe my long video on YouTube about it. And that's what it is. But I'm going to do just a live stream now. Here's the quick 3 minutes, just chopped version of like the 10 emails that you'll never hear in mainstream media and television, because, this is like the man behind the curtain. This is like Wizard of Oz level stuff. So now they're just running with the fake story that he was some sort of Russian spy, even though if you read and listen to the emails, it's clearly way deeper than that. So here's just a quick rundown. 10 emails I found interesting. Number 10, pretty funny, not gonna lie. Epstein calling Madonna cattle. Epstein to redacted. Of course, they don't want you to see who it was. He said, saw Madonna on the Jew Larry King show talking about Kabbalah. Hollywood's types, especially Gentiles who take Kabbalah lessons from some rabbi huckster, are a funny joke. Larry didn't look amused to be talking Jew religious issues with a cattle. Anyway, that's number 10. Let's get to number 9. Let's stick with this theme. David Stern was talking to Epstein. Epstein said, just go hang out in the lobby. And David Stern said, that's for the goyim. Anyway, let's get to number 8. Steve Bannon and Epstein talked a lot, which is fascinating to me because Steve Bannon's been really outspoken recently about the Israel lobby in America. Yet he seemed to be one of the closest people to Jeffrey Epstein before he passed, aka killed himself, aka did that really happen, aka is he even really dead? But it seemed like Steve Bannon was trying to rehab Jeffrey Epstein's image, which is wild. And this one was interesting to me. Epstein said, tariff wrestling, Ji Kim Judo. Steve Bannon said, all roads lead to Beijing. Epstein said, or Tel Aviv, wink. I'm back in New York tomorrow afternoon till Saturday morning, you. Lots more where it came from Bannon and Epstein. I'm fascinated to hear what Steve Bannon has to say about all this. All right, number 7. Hopefully I don't get drone struck for this one, but if I do get drone struck at any point in my life, you should be able to figure out who did it. One email said, I give you permission to kill him. He is apparently with Olga. He lied to you. He lied to me. Number 6 is an email between a Rothschild and Epstein about Ukraine. Epstein wrote, Ukraine upheaval should provide many opportunities, many. The Rothschild wrote, I miss our talks and hope you're well. We'll be home tomorrow night. Will you be free? And let's discuss Ukraine. Number 5, Jeffrey Epstein emailing redacted, of course. They can't show you who this is. Hey, Jeffrey, do you still need a fake wife? I might have found a perfect candidate. She is 50, Russian, speaks perfect English, has lived and worked in New York, Jewish, and trustworthy. She's looking for a job. Should I propose it to her? Let's move on to number 4. Epstein to the journalist or book writer Wolf said that the original funder of the dossier was Rubio. Number 3, an email about giving ISIS a pass. Epstein to Tom Pritzker. Turkey gives Nusra a heads up on Iraqi recruits, slaughter. Russia gives Erdogan a heads up on coup. US gives a pass on ISIS to Palmyra. Assad has no support, so we'll stay. Number 2, Epstein to Peter Thiel. He said, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. Wow. But my number 1 is Jeffrey Epstein in an email to Roger Schenck. This is the way the Jew make money and made a fortune in the past 10 years. Selling short the shipping futures, let the Goyim deal in the real world. Somebody asked if I'm gonna, if I'm still way too jacked for the gulag. I think I need to make a new song called "Way Too Jacked for the Drone Strike" because that's my new, probably my new threat. It used to be the COVID gulags that they were going to throw everybody in, but now it seems to be if I keep going this direction, my chances of being spontaneously drone struck by our greatest ally increases. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. It's just comedy. Relax, folks. Jeez, come on. Lighten up. Oh my gosh. It's early. It's Wednesday morning. Calm down. My gosh. Yeah, so that's the shorter version of the video. I did a longer one with like more commentary, but I decided to just re-upload it with the shorter one, and it's doing well on some other platforms. So the info getting out there, I think that's really all that matters. As far as the rest, it is what it is. It comes and goes. But yeah, I mean, it's a big mystery what was going on there. I need to check the Express and the Daily Mail and the New York Post and all of these mainstream, totally not Zionist organizations for it's Russia. It must be Russia. Let me think. You had Zelensky. Let me try to connect the dots. Hold on. Epstein, Rothschilds, calling everyone Goyim. Zelensky, his big billionaire backer Kolomoisky, the guy who got in trouble for corruption charges and then fled to Israel. Trump getting paid by Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson said she was in Israel talking to Alan Dershowitz about Trump serving a third term. Alan Dershowitz saying that it was the Rothschilds who introduced, Epstein to him. Epstein telling Peter Thiel that he represents the Rothschilds. What in the world is going on here? Let me turn on the TV. It might be Russia. It's definitely Russia. It's definitely not the people that must not be named in Israel. It's Russia, folks. Now listen to some more spam Hannity. You got Maria Bartiromo, the screaming bird lady. She's like squawk, squawk, squawk. I love Trump. Squawk, squawk. What is going on with the Epstein emails, guys? So yeah, I mean, I think enough sarcasm for the day. The whole media complex around the world in Europe, Australia, like they're trying to trick their, I would say, population into thinking that it's all Russia and Epstein worked for Russia, even though he's calling people Goyim and plotting with people of his ethnicity around the world, intervening in our foreign affairs and foreign politics, talking to Peter Thiel about representing the Rothschilds. I mean, it's just like so obvious. What's crazy to me, and I hate to be that guy. We're only 8 minutes into a live stream. I'm already complimenting myself. I sound like a real asshole, but I didn't obviously know everything that was in Epstein emails. How would I know? But when it came out, like none of it was shocking to me. It was like it was a stereotype of everything I thought, except it was like even more like extreme, And we'll get into the other stuff that I know a lot of people want to talk about, but I'm going to just stay on the topic of things I can prove. Like I assumed that Epstein was super connected. I didn't know that he said he represented the Rothschilds. I'm not shocked by that, but that's something I didn't have proof of, right? It's like, yeah, he's powerful. Oh, he's representing the Rothschilds, and he's telling Peter Thiel that. He's introducing the former prime minister of Israel to Palantir. It's like an anti-Semitic stereotype. Like the actual reality is an anti-Semitic trope that I am condemning. I condemn those emails. Those emails were anti-Semitic. They were tropes. There were so many tropes in those emails. Jeffrey, why so many tropes? Why are you troping so much on my people? And by my people, I mean the human race. We're all one. That's why every country besides Africa and Israel apparently just needs to just be flooded with migrants. I'm just kidding. Canada and Australia too. But yeah, I mean, it's like it sucks being right. I didn't know all that stuff was in the email, but when I saw it, I was like, wow, everything I thought. Like he's talking about Syria. He's talking about how U.S. backs off of ISIS, which is true, which proves that we weren't really fighting terrorist organizations. We were either working with them directly or indirectly to overthrow and topple leaders. So, the whole programming on the media of like we have to go beat up Al Qaeda because they did 9/11, like nobody even cares now that that's a lie. And that's what I find fascinating, where it's like how annoyed or frustrated do I get over this? Because I don't, sometimes they say anger is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to get hurt or something, So it's like being angry and frustrated and stressed over this stuff. It's not healthy, and also it's not productive. Like, it's like sitting in a corner like you're like a cartoon character that's turning into a tomato. You're like, ugh, and it's like, what's the point? Like I've known this stuff for so long. It's just vindicating everything I've always thought and could tell. And the reason I want to be clear about this too, just to be transparent. The reason I thought all these things, even before I saw the emails, is based off of evidence. Like I don't just spontaneously come up with things randomly. Like I'm not like, oh, I think this foreign nation is lobbying Trump because I hate Trump and I'm emotional. That's what people think I'm doing. But it's like I'm reading all these things that they're not seeing, or pieces of evidence that certain people, I know a lot of people here understand it. So I'm not trying to act like I'm the only one, but there's a lot of people that their addiction to certain things is so extreme. Like they're addicted to thinking Republicans are better than Democrats so much they're addicted to loving Trump and thinking he's fighting the deep state when he might actually be like the biggest deep state puppet ever. So then when I talk about that, they're like, "Are you saying he did this with kids?" And I'm like, "No, I can't prove that. I'm not saying that. I honestly, I don't think that. I mean, some people are going to say that and, make accusations that they can't prove. I'm not going to do that. All I know is what I actually know, which is if you look for the network that Epstein basically represented and was either a part of, or it's hard to tell what his power level was, but it seemed pretty high. Trump works for the exact same people, So like I don't need the Epstein emails to even know that. It's like, oh look at all this stuff. We've know it's all out there. It's just certain people ignore that stuff because they don't want it to shatter their reality. So they want to be like Trump's fighting the deep state and the Rothschilds. And it's like, let's look into the Rothschilds, not too much because I don't want to get drone struck. Just kidding. That's just a joke. Let me take a sip of coffee. I need a little bit more. This is decaf, but they say there's a little bit of caffeine in there. So we'll get a little bit of caffeine. Just kidding. So who are the Rothschilds, right? The Rothschilds are a famous international banking family that spans back a long time. Who got Israel, right? The modern state of Israel. Who was gifted that or given that or basically represented Israel? Because it's not like it just appeared out of nowhere. There had to be someone high level that facilitated the returning of Jews to that land, or some would say the first time they got there. I'm not getting into a historical argument, but Jews in the modern day going to Palestine, who facilitated that deal? It was the Balfour Declaration. Well, first, it was Theodore Herzl's idea to create a Jewish homeland. He thought either in Palestine or Argentina. And for those who say Palestine didn't exist, it's all over Theodore Herzl's speakings and writings because Palestine did exist. And that's where he either wanted to go there or Argentina. They chose Palestine. The Balfour Declaration was written to Lord Rothschild. And then Lord Rothschild was the one who, on the Jewish side, basically facilitated the returning or the taking over of Israel, however you want to see it. So that's like who Rothschild is. There is basically no separation between the banking family Rothschild and Israel, because without the Rothschilds, there is no Israel. So if you're pro Israel, you have to, in some cases, be extremely grateful to the Rothschilds because they facilitated that whole move. And I'm not saying you can't do that. You could feel how you want. And, there's always nuance to history. Sometimes people have different opinions. I'm not here to judge you on what you say, but like this, excuse me, sorry, this like Christian Zionist thing where they're like, oh, I don't like the Rothschilds and we're fighting the Rothschild bankers, but we're obsessed with Israel. It's like, you should thank them then because they're the ones who got it. Like there is no separation between the Rothschild family and Israel. I'm not saying every one of their kids feels that way, but they basically got Israel. They're like the number one. They're like top Jewish elites who basically facilitated the deal for Israel. And then you listen to certain people and it's like, before the emails, we didn't have this. Alan Dershowitz said that Lord Rothschild was introduced him to Jeffrey Epstein. So when he was saying, Alan Dershowitz was saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I was just being a lawyer. He said, and by the way, let me just let you know, in an interview, he said, I was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein by Lady and Lord Rothschild, and he knew all the powerful people, which is true. So I don't know if he got introduced. That's I'm sure why would he lie about that? But I'm just saying it is true that Jeffrey Epstein knew all these famous and rich people. So you have the Rothschilds who got Israel. You have Alan Dershowitz who said that Jeffrey Epstein was introduced to him by the Rothschilds. You have Jeffrey Epstein in emails basically facilitating conversations between Palantir and former Israeli prime ministers. You have him telling the CEO or one of the heads of Palantir, Peter Thiel, that he represents the Rothschilds. Donald Trump is on stage with Miriam Adelson, who bankrolls his campaign, who says that she's in Israel talking to Alan Dershowitz about Trump running for a third term. If you're talking like, I don't know what people mean anymore when they say elites, but it's like, I'm not saying I hate Trump because I'm a leftist. I'm more right leaning than Trump. The reality is, Trump just isn't a threat to that establishment. He basically is like their greatest token at this point. He's their greatest puppet. I knew Trump was sold out to Israel. I knew Trump was a sellout. I knew he sold out to Big Pharma. I knew he was a scammer and a liar. I knew he lied through his teeth through COVID. But I also know that Democrats are slightly worse on a lot of issues. So I was like, my bar for Trump was super, super low. But I was like, you know what? Biden's leaving the border open. RFK would be interesting at HHS. That's really all. I had basically no expectations. But even though my expectations were so low for Trump, he's been even worse. Like this, term kind of feels like an open season for the donors. It feels like Trump. It's that meme of like Kermit the Frog bending over and like opening his puppet hole, in the back in his butt. That's metaphorically what it feels like with Trump. Like it feels like Trump is just bending over this term, even though I knew he was a sellout. It's basically like an all you can have bonanza for his donors and, the people that Epstein was talking to essentially and the group that Epstein represented. So Trump is like the biggest sellout. But the reason I got into all this is like, people think I thought that before just because I'm hating. But when you connect certain dots and you read certain things that people don't want to read, then you're ahead of the curve because you're bringing in evidence that they just don't want to see. And it's like, if you work for $100,000 a year and you have a job and your boss says you have 3 weeks of vacation, if you take 4 weeks, you're fired. You have to do that for $80,000 a year, $70,000 a year. $250 million Trump got basically in 1 second. Maybe it took a little bit longer than that. What do you think Trump has to do for that $250 million? And that's not counting all the other ways that they're leveraged over Donald Trump. So let's just say we like Trump for this instance and he's this victim. He's a victim at bare minimum. I'm not saying he is, but it's like he can't do anything. He's a total puppet. And the reason that I know this and a lot of people know this is because we're seeing and researching things that other people are ignoring. So when it comes to these emails, some people are like, who cares about the emails? Trump didn't do anything with kids. Other people are accusing Trump. I understand that. I'm not doing that. I can't, stop other people and liberals and right wingers from saying everything. And nor do I really want to. It's like people have the freedom of speech. But what I'm saying is not accusing Trump of something that I can't prove. It's just showing people the web of how our, country really works. And that's to me what this exposed. Of course, there's a lot of other like weird, mysterious stuff that people want to look into. But for me personally, and this is just a preference, like I'm not into the mystery anymore. Like mystery was fun to me when I was like 18 years old. And I'm like, who's doing this to me? Who's doing this to the world? I can't figure it out. Like to me, that was fun when I was 18. Now that we have so much evidence and stuff going on, it's not that exciting to me to find these little breadcrumbs and run in circles for 30 years because without the breadcrumbs with the actual facts, you can already basically paint the entire web. And, somebody's got to be the person that's into the mystery. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying it's like we don't even need to speculate anymore on some of this stuff. There's enough concrete evidence with so much of this stuff to see how the world's working. And with our foreign policy, like I wasn't 100% sure that Jeffrey Epstein was into foreign policy. How would I know that? But I'm not surprised. It's like he's talking about Syria. He's talking about us backing off of ISIS. He doesn't like Bashar al-Assad. He's plotting with the Rothschilds. Obviously, now we have proof of that. Now there's actual evidence that this is all going on. And meanwhile, anybody that's saying that this is just Russia or it's only about vindicating Donald Trump, it's missing the whole point of it. And that's why Trump has become such a non-threat, besides the fact that he's working for his donors. The fact that Trump becomes the narrative, like people are addicted to either hero, I would say villainizing, or like hero fetishing Donald Trump. So it's like, instead of looking at these millions of emails, not that you could look at them all, but a few of them, people are making it all about, well, it's Trump, it's not Trump. And he becomes like this, like, martyr of like, oh, it's not me. Michael Wolff's coming after me. I'm going to sue Michael Wolff. Sure, I get it. That's part of it. He's got to protect himself. But the real story is just so much deeper. And Trump fans are basically just saying nothing about it and trying to cover it up and just vindicate Trump on things that doesn't even really matter that much. I mean, obviously it matters, but there's a bigger story there. And then the mainstream media, like all of European media, I don't pay attention to European media because why would I? They don't even have freedom of speech. But it's like, it shows you that we're living in this matrix because they're all running with the narrative that it's Russia. It's Russia. They won't talk about Israel, and they won't talk about how much Jewish talk was in there. And I say Jewish talk not to blame everybody of that ethnicity or religion, because of course that's not true. But I'm just talking about like Jewish talk. Like, what if it was a bunch of Somalians saying, oh, calling everybody non-Somalians like Goyim and stuff? Of course they would report on that. If it were like Catholics plotting religiously to like conquer, other religions and stuff, it would all be reported. But when it's Jewish elites calling people Goyim and plotting together and doing foreign policy along with some others, all of a sudden, all of the world is just saying, it must be Russia. It must be Russia. It's because they already want to start a war with Russia. And the reason that a lot of people, not just in the Trump administration, not just in the Biden administration, it's both sides of politics. It's left, it's right, it's foreign leaders, etc. The reason they don't really want to talk about it is because the same people that Epstein was plotting with are the same people that they're plotting with. The same foreign policy that Epstein had is the same foreign policy that they have. And when you watch the media, whether it's Fox News or Newsmax, or in some cases CNN and MSNBC, I don't even know what they're saying about foreign policy, but the fake opposition right wing for sure, because I'm more familiar with conservative news, you're basically listening to them trying to sell you an Epstein war. It's like, here's the wars that he liked. Here's what they like. That's what you like now too. It's so obvious. So, I think this showed a lot of stuff. I'm going to just play another clip because there's definitely a few more things that I found interesting here, but let's play this clip of like the video that I ended up taking down. But here's a few more emails that just worth looking at. What's going on, folks? Welcome to the first ever Top 10 Craziest Epstein Drop Award Ceremony. And feel free to add some to the comment section because you know I'm going to miss a bunch. There's so many emails and so much crazy stuff. But before we get into the top 10, let's do some honorable mentions, and there's quite a few. In one email, Epstein said that the Indian Prime Minister Modi took advice and danced and sang in Israel for the benefit of the US president. They had met a few weeks ago. It worked. What's interesting about that is Donald Trump today posted this on his True Social account, the mover and the shaker, with a picture of him and Modi in India today. What kind of moving and shaking is Trump talking about? Who knows? Epstein apparently emailed somebody and said, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." And who he sent that to was redacted. For all of the talk about, oh, Epstein was just this rogue lone wolf who really didn't do that much or whatever that the Justice Department was trying to tell us for years, I wonder who he was sending that email to. There's some really creepy stuff in these emails. Speaking of which, another honorable mention, Joy Ito said, happen to have anyone with influence over Assad, and Jeffrey Epstein said not for email. This person nailed it. Underappreciated element to the Epstein saga is that he was completely aware of the need to keep sensitive stuff off of email, which means he thought the sex stuff was no biggie, and begs the question of what kind of crazy-ish was going down that was not documented. Another honorable mention, apparently Epstein was a big fan of Tommy Robinson, the Zionist nationalist leader from England who cries about anti-Semitism all the time. Jeffrey Epstein said, "Tommy Robinson, good work." And someone said thanks. And in another email, it appears to be a picture of him, Steve Bannon saying backbone of England, Epstein saying that's why the pound's so low, Steve Bannon saying cheap at any price. Fascinating. Last few honorable mentions, Elon Musk saying what day and night will be the wildest party on your island. The Bill Gates Epstein STD email in which Epstein claims that Bill was trying to sneak some antibiotics to his wife after being afraid he got an STD, in which apparently Gates has denied these claims as absolutely absurd and completely false. And finally, the last honorable mention before we get to the actual top 10 list, Peggy Siegel asking, is it going to be 100% Jew night? Even Perlman on Yum Yum has some goyim. I am getting my media elite list FedExed out for Saturday and will email some names. What about Jane Fonda, my new best friend? Nothing like an ex-Jew hater with a Jewish boyfriend to mix it up. Someone said, what about the food emails too? Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to look into all that stuff because I think when it comes to like the weird terminology in the emails, et cetera, it's definitely like super strange, but I don't know. That like probably the Justice Department should look into that, if they actually cared. But it's like, what's going to happen? People are just going to speculate, show certain stuff, and then I don't know. But I've seen them all. I'm definitely like, some of them are way more suspicious than others. And a lot of stuff in there is very, very strange. Like the way he's talking about certain people, mentioning what appears to be ages at certain times. Like there's definitely millions of emails to go through. I'm looking at them all. I guess I'm just picking and choosing certain ones to share. But I have a Twitter account, and I'm definitely seeing everything. And yeah, let me see. Someone said this is higher than Orange Man Bad. Oh yeah, of course it is. Absolutely. Someone said, please don't take this as yes, Trump is guilty. Go banning mostly and Elon Gates, Peggy Siegel. Well, I guess the point that I'm trying to make, and I don't, everyone can make their own point. Hold on one second, real quick. I just want to play. I'm going to just play a few more emails. Well, actually, I'll play Trump. Trump, what do you think's going on? Hold on one second.
My father would tell me the most powerful lobby that there is in this country is the Jewish lobby. It's the Israeli lobby.
All right. Sorry, it got darker, but I had to turn off that light. I had like a light shining bright in my face, and it was just like super bothering me. I know it looks like way shittier now, but it was too much light in my face, so I had to turn it off. Someone said, glad I caught you live. Wanted to let you know your takes and upfront religion have made me turn back to my religious roots. All right, thanks. Appreciate you, Chris. Thanks for the chat. Um, yeah, I guess like to answer the last question before I played that, when it comes to like guilty, like I don't think, and this is not to like downplay it, but I'm just being honest. Being in an email doesn't make you guilty. Going to and once again, I'm let me finish. Going to a party doesn't make you guilty. Talking to Epstein doesn't make you guilty. So just because people are in emails doesn't mean they should be arrested or even investigated, in my opinion. Like every single person that talked to him is not guilty. But what is important is trying to figure out what was actually going on. And I think this is just, I mean, there's a lot that was going on. Jeffrey Epstein was doing so much. But I think the big reason that no government seems to want to really look into it that much is because they're all doing the same thing. And I'm not even just necessarily talking about like the craziest or sickest thing you could think of, because I do personally think that not everyone involved, but some people were doing crazy and sick things that are so depraved that it doesn't even make sense to most people. I think that based off of everything that I'm seeing. But with that being said, the reason that our Justice Department and other countries are like, oh, just leave it alone is because they're working for the same people that Jeffrey Epstein worked for. So it's like a dead end, don't go there, sort of vibe. Like they're like, I don't want to look into this because all of the things that he was doing, whether it was like, our Justice Department said that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, which almost no one believes. He wasn't really blackmailing everyone, which no one believes. Even the email to Bill Gates, he emailed it to himself. And Bill Gates said, I think he was trying to frame me. Like I didn't do it. He emailed it to himself. I'm not saying I necessarily trust Bill Gates because Bill Gates is one of the least trustworthy, biggest psychopaths in the world. I can't stand Bill Gates. But one thing that he's right about is Jeffrey Epstein did email it to himself. So it's like, why would you email something to yourself? Maybe he was talking to someone else through his email, but maybe he really was trying to blackmail Bill Gates in some sort of way, right? And that doesn't mean Bill Gates is now a great guy, but this is like a nuanced take about it. Like everyone can scream, everybody's guilty, everybody's a pedophile. Some people are absolutely guilty. Some people were obviously doing sicko stuff. And if we had a real government, especially with Jeffrey Epstein, they would look into like the craziest, sickest emails and then really try to get some more information on those. Cause I do think some people were doing that sick stuff. But when it comes to like, our government, He didn't kill himself. He didn't blackmail anybody. There's no evidence of this with other people. He just had things on his computer. That's isn't that what Pam Bondi said? He just had a bunch of stuff on his computer, but no one else was involved. Nobody believes that. Literally nobody believes that. So why are they covering it up and why are they so uninterested in looking at it? It's because they're working for the same people that Jeffrey Epstein. Figure out who Jeffrey Epstein was. Figure out which elite group he worked for. And that's the exact same elite group that both parties are working for. And that's why the talking point of like, oh, why didn't Biden do this on Trump if, if they had so much dirt on Trump? It's because they also have dirt on themselves there. And also, Trump may not be the most guilty one when it comes to all the emails. There's probably 20 more people that did way more than even Trump in that orbit. Trump's selling out in other ways, but it's like it's so obvious what's going on. And I don't know. I think there's now a conversation that people are like, we want to prosecute and arrest everybody. And then the Justice Department's like, well, in an email isn't evidence of a crime, which is true. But the thing is, like, what was going on there? Who was doing crimes? They're just not interested in it. They're not interested in figuring out that, okay, maybe 10 or 20% of the people in the emails are 5%. Let's even go low. It's probably higher than that, but let's say it's only 2%. But it's like, what, things that they're doing in this government, it's the exact same stuff. They have the exact same foreign policy as Jeffrey Epstein. They protect the exact same people as Jeffrey Epstein. They work for the exact same people as Jeffrey Epstein. So why would they want to dive into what he was doing? Because what he was doing is what they're doing. And I'm not talking about the sexual stuff necessarily, but definitely with the plotting of worldly events. So it's like a no-go zone. And then, of course, as far as what is everyone doing sexually, it's like I don't know. I'm not gonna like accuse everyone in Congress. I don't think they're all blackmailed or they're all doing deviant stuff or they're all doing illegal stuff. I don't necessarily think that's true, but they all are sucking off of the same power teats that Jeffrey Epstein represented. So they don't want to let that power go. And I think, that's the fairest nuanced conversation about it is like, screaming that everyone's guilty is not true. Saying that nobody's guilty can't be true. Saying that Jeffrey Epstein was a lone wolf obviously can't be true. Saying that he didn't blackmail anyone seems completely ridiculous, especially now that there's emails of all sorts of stuff that he's essentially hanging over people's heads. So I think, at least to me, and obviously there's bigger pictures that are like mysterious right now that people can't necessarily prove. But I think the big picture should be that like our government just doesn't seem to care about this stuff. And I don't know. I feel like if that doesn't wake you up and this doesn't make you figure out what's going on, then nothing will. Someone with the super chat said, Nino Rodriguez, man, the dude's gone in this echo chamber of fear. I think he's a bit punch drunk, too many fights. Didn't you talk about this before? It's been years since I mean, God bless the guy. I try to be respectful to everybody, but I'm pretty sure he was like pretty big into QAnon and stuff, right? For a long time. He's got a big audience. I'm sure he means well, but in my view, some of his takes I've seen are smart. Other takes I've seen I feel like are really stupid, but I'm not really trying to badmouth the man right now. Haven't seen his stuff for years, but I think he's one of those guys who is a little bit more. I think he thinks he's smarter and more awake than he is, and there's a lot of people that follow him. So I think when you're into that sort of stuff, like you're going to be right sometimes, you're going to be wrong sometimes. But I think QAnon was like an obvious psyop. I think Trump obviously works for, the who's, the people that you can't talk about because we live in their matrix that they control, but we can't say that they control it. If you can't figure that stuff out, it's like I've tuned these people out for years, so I don't even know what they're saying. Usually I find people again when they start waking up and they realize this stuff and they start talking about it, then I start seeing them in my feed again. But until then, I'm like 6 years ahead. It's like Trump, you got to figure out who are the Rothschilds, who are Trump's donors, which country. How many times do I got to say it? I've sat here and said it for 5 years and everything I keep saying becomes true. So I don't know. There's other people that play a different game where it's like Trump is the center of their universe and they try to tie everything to like why he's Iron Man. But to me, that's not that interesting. But, if they want to do that, it is what it is. And even with this sort of topic, it's very interesting to me to be live now. But, a lot of people felt like I've been beating a dead horse or just like, oh, why do you want to talk about this all the time? Because it's literally the key to everything that's going on. Like, I hate that it is, but Here's another thing. Donald Trump just put some new guy, Kevin Warsh or something, who of course was in the Epstein emails, but he put him as the new Fed chair. He's the son-in-law to Ron Lauder, the head of the World Jewish Congress, who told Trump to invade Greenland, who's on stage basically saying he wants to throw anti-Semites in jail. And in other countries, you can literally be charged a crime for criticizing Israel. You could say a factual statement about Jewish power or Jewish control in another country and be sent to prison or be put on trial. So around the world, they're passing speech laws that are throwing people in prison for speaking out against people like Jeffrey Epstein, who was a Jewish elite who called people goyim. That's what these anti-Semitism hate speech laws are. They're basically like laws for regular people to not be able to talk about the billionaires who control us, and then them to spin it and say it's some sort of anti-Semitic conspiracy, when the real anti-Semitic conspiracy was Jeffrey Epstein's emails, because every anti-Semitic conspiracy was in those emails, like even more than I even thought. I was like, oh my gosh, like I condemn Jeffrey Epstein. To me, his emails were anti-Semitic. Like that, it went far beyond what I even imagined. But here's Ron Lauder, who donates to Donald Trump, whose son-in-law just took over the Federal Reserve. Here's him. Like if you still worship Trump and think he's like Batman, like I'm sorry, but clearly you're not very smart.
All world leaders, all politicians must lead in this effort. Words are not enough. Political speeches are not enough. Laws must be passed, severe, tough, real laws that will put these hate mongers away in prison for a long time.
According to John Bolton, that's who gave Trump the idea to take Greenland. His son-in-law now is the head of the Federal Reserve. It's like, this is such a huge part of like the equation of everything that's going on. And the reason I've been beating a dead horse, metaphorically, according to some, about these hate speech laws, I'm looking around the world, and it's like in Australia, we're already in a rough spot in America, right? Like it's a great country, but we're in a rough spot. Our First Amendment is so important. We need to be able to talk about anything. We need to be able to have the freedom of speech. I'm not trying to say a conspiracy theory, but it's like, just think about who owns everything. Who owns Facebook? Who owns Palantir? Who is Jeffrey Epstein? Who is Ghislaine Maxwell? Who is Zelensky? Who are the Rothschilds, right? You could go to most major companies, not all, but most major companies, and who is George Soros? You know what I'm saying? And read the speech laws that they're trying to pass. They're trying to pass these speech laws under the guise of anti-Semitism to stop normal people from talking about a large percentage of the wealthy people that are controlling the matrix grid in politics, media, sports, finance. And then they'll say it's hate speech if you say that. So, that's why I've been talking about it for so long. It's like, oh, it's not important. Let's just talk about Somalia. Dude, Jeffrey Epstein's network was so much bigger and deeper and more influential in what's going on in this country. Trillions of dollars spent at war. This is the big story. This is like the only story that actually gets to something that will, I don't know. It's like everything else is just surface level stuff that people like, entertainment that people are interested in because they want like daily news, like they want to know what's this, what's that, but they don't necessarily want to know like what's behind that or like what's the root of that. So then it just becomes like this circular running in circles sort of thing. All right, let's read a few comments. Someone said the government wanted to stir more hatred to remove the freedom of speech. I mean, there's definitely a cycle of, there needs to be a tragedy or something in order to pass a law. So it's like there's, unfortunately, that is a cycle where they need tragedy, they need chaos, they need someone to hate something in order to point to it and say, look at that. We need more funding. We need more money. We need more speech laws. We need another war. And another angle that I wanted to talk about too, I'm going to sorry about this. If you guys already seen this is my top 10 Epstein email list. I just need some water. I'm exhausted and I haven't filmed in a while, and I was like blasting light in my face. It was bothering me a little bit, but just give me like a minute. I'm going to go through a couple of these emails, and then I want to talk about the whole Iran thing, because I just find it fascinating that some of the worst and craziest neocons in the country, some of which have said that they literally want to wipe out Iran and take like 90 something million people off the map, these are the people that are acting like they care about the Iranian people. They're like, the real reason that we need to invade Iran and attack Iran right now, Donald Trump, is because, the people there are just suffering, because nobody cares about the people of Iran more than Mark Levin, and those type of people. That's their new angle. Like, I would have more respect for these people if they were like, just told us the truth, and they're like, listen, we think we're better than you. We think we're better than everybody else. We basically view you as like nothing. So we want to do whatever we want to do because that's how we view you and everybody else. Listen, of course, that's like, whoa, you're doing a little bit too much. But I would have a little bit more respect for these people, because I'm like, all right, at least you're telling me the truth. Like, that's not, how I see the world. But I respect the honesty. I respect the bluntness. But instead, they're like, you know what? Even though we despise all of these people and literally wouldn't care if they all disappeared, we're going to actually passive aggressively pretend like we just deeply care about the average Iranian man and woman, and we just want to free them from whatever that guy's name is, Soleimani or whatever the freak. I don't even know. I see a bunch of letters there. I don't know 100% how to even pronounce it, but oh yeah, and then they put that on Fox News and Newsmax and all of these Zionist media corporations, and people actually believe it. I'm like, how are you believing that? Like, saying that they have nukes, even though they've lied, like they've said that for like 40 years straight. It's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen tomorrow. And then Donald Trump takes out their nukes and says they're completely obliterated. They're all gone. And then 7 months later, they're not gone now. It's like, you know, they're running out of narratives that actually connect with people. So the new one is that the people that hate literally everybody just really, really care about the average person in a country they can't stand. That's just what it's really about. And people are somehow believing this. Let me play this clip. I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back. And then I'll read some of the chat. Number 10, pretty funny, not gonna lie. Epstein calling Madonna cattle. Epstein to redacted. Of course, they don't want you to see who it was. He said, saw Madonna on the Jew Larry King show talking about Kabbalah. Hollywood's types, especially Gentiles who take Kabbalah lessons from some rabbi huckster, are a funny joke. Larry didn't look amused to be talking Jew religious issues with a cattle. Anyway, that's number 10. Let's get to number 9. Let's stick with this theme. David Stern was talking to Epstein. Epstein said, just go hang out in the lobby. And David Stern said, that's for the goyim. Anyway, let's get to number 8. Steve Bannon and Epstein talked a lot, which is fascinating to me because Steve Bannon's been really outspoken recently about the Israel lobby in America, yet he seemed to be one of the closest people to Jeffrey Epstein before he passed. So imagine real quick that those emails were Muslims talking to other Muslims about non-Muslims, or Chinese people talking to other Chinese people about non-Chinese people, or Somalians talking to Somalians about non-Somalians. Imagine the outrage that you'd see on Daily Wire, Newsmax, Fox News, all of these news corporations. They would be putting this on 24/7, freaking out. Guys, look at what the Chinese people are doing. Look at what the Muslims are doing. Look at what the Somalians are doing. But when it's Jewish people, all of a sudden it's not happening. You're an anti-Semite. It's actually Russia. I mean, imagine any other ethnic group, any other religion, any other country, and they'd be all over this all day. But when it's them, then it's just everyone who's talking about it. That's just a really, really bad person. And now we need to go do the foreign policy that Jeffrey Epstein wanted to do. And we need to, pass a speech law for Jeffrey Epstein to stop people from criticizing him. Because if you talk about him and the Rothschilds, that just happens to be two Jewish people. And if he's saying someone else is goyim, it's actually your fault for noticing. You're the anti-Semite. He's allowed to call you that. You're not allowed to talk about it. This is literally 99% of Republican media, which is why I'm sorry if some of my stuff has gotten a little bit monotonous over the last few years, but it's the reason I don't want to talk about anything else. Who cares what these people are talking about? Who cares what they're reporting? Who cares what they're saying? Who cares the latest drama they have to try to win the elections? Who cares? None of that matters. What I just said matters. If you can't figure that out, you're going to be caught in a loop in circles, and you're not really a threat to the establishment or anything. You're just a joke. You are what Jeffrey Epstein thinks you are. That I'm not going to repeat the word, but you know what he said. So, I haven't streamed live in a week or two, but just kind of taking all this stuff in and being like, wait, is there really an audience that thinks that Mark Levin actually cares about Iranian people? Like, that's their new narrative. Not that they're such a huge threat that we need to stop them. Like nobody really cared about that because like Netanyahu's been saying it for 30 years. So that narrative kind of died down after Trump said he took out their nukes. Because like for 30 years, it's like they're going to attack you, they're going to attack you. Every time Netanyahu does a show, he's like, where are we right now? And someone will be like, New York. And then Netanyahu will be like, they could attack New York. And then he'll talk to like the Nelk boys or whatever. And they'll be like, we're in Florida. They could attack Florida at any second. Like he always likes to say that wherever they are is where Iran's going to attack. And I guess that narrative's not working. So now the new one is like, oh, well, it's the Iranian people that we just really need to free because we just so deep. Dude, we know you don't care about Iranians. And that's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to. I'm not sitting here acting like I care so much about the Iranian citizens. Yeah, I care about them, but I care more about the American citizens. What about our people? What about our healthcare system? What about the fact that, I worked my ass off over the last 7 years and I've gotten robbed by the IRS. They're doing weird ass stuff to me. During COVID, the social media platform TikTok took my account away. Facebook demonetized me in the prime of my career and probably cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is what it is, but it's like, what about that? What about they're not free? Bro, I was trying to talk about Bill Gates. They took my money. They took my videos down. I tried to warn my people that lockdowns and mandates and forced masking is not healthy for children and women and everybody. And they lied about me. NPR, which is taxpayer funded, wrote an article about me, and then Chelsea Clinton shared it. So what about all that? I don't really, no offense, I'm not concerned with, oh, well, in that country, they're doing that. In my own country, I have my own government, my own elite system, taxpayer funded media, Zionist billionaire funded media, which I just found out because one of the media smears on me after Vivek Ramaswamy started from a newspaper that I found out was funded by a billionaire Zionist who's bankrolling the opposition to Thomas Massey. So what about that? Am I allowed to, can I, they'll say that I'm anti-Semitic 50 times. Can I say that certain, not all, because it's not true, but certain Jewish elitists, Jewish media people, Jewish billionaires are, doing that to me? Am I allowed to say that or no? Will I end up getting treated like Kanye West or something? Because, when you try to talk about what they're doing to you, you're just an anti-Semite, right? I never even said anything. I interviewed Vivek about Big Pharma, and then all of a sudden this massive Zionist orchestrated media smear came out, ended up on Drudge Report. I'm like, I'm not even that important. How did this end up on Drudge Report? And then I start tying all the things of like, who's doing it? Of course, it's some, we can't say who, and then funded by you can't say who's bankrolling the opposition to Thomas Massey because he doesn't work for Israel. He works for America. That's the country I live in. Okay. I don't believe that Mark Levin cares about people in Iran. What do they need from us? They need more feminism. They need OnlyFans accounts over there. They need Tehran to look like San Francisco. Like, can we fix our own country and then can we go help the Middle East? This propaganda is not even believable anymore. It was believable in the 90s when America was like, had its shit together. It's like, oh yeah, we got to go help everybody else. Nobody's being helped. Africa still needs wells for Mr. Beast. The Middle East is in the same position it always was. America's worse off than ever. Europe is falling apart. They're raiding the offices of Elon Musk. Are we going to go liberate France? Are we going to liberate the UK, Canada, Australia? You know what I'm saying? These are countries I care a little bit more about. I mean, maybe it's a bias. I'll admit I'm a little biased, but it's like, I think Australians are cool. I think Canada was cool, not so much anymore. I mean, I do like Canadians, like Canadians are cool, but like, I'm more interested in freeing them and freeing Australia and Europe than I am of like liberating like Libya from Gaddafi because he wants to, have a gold backed currency or something. Or Maduro because he doesn't bow down to Zionists. That's what it's about. If Maduro was abusing his people, stealing all their money and leaving everybody broke, but he worked with Israel, they never would have kidnapped Maduro. He's being kidnapped because he opposes the Zionist world order. It doesn't mean he's a good leader, but it's like, I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh yeah, the reason we stole him is because he's dealing drugs and machine gun. It's like, dude, these are BS charges. They tried to do the same thing to Julian Assange, slightly different case, obviously, but it's like they tried to charge Julian Assange with the whole thing, let him rot in prison for 15 years, 10 years, whatever. And then he got out. They had nothing, but they had enough to just ruin his life. So we'll see what happens to Maduro. And then people were like, you're defending him. I'm just speaking reality. It's not a defense. I don't care about Maduro or Putin or the guy who runs, Iran. It doesn't matter to me that much. It's not important to me as far as like defending them or attacking them. I'm just speaking reality. If I say America has OnlyFans, pornography, basically the sexualization of everybody, liberalism, feminism, eighth wave feminism, and it's gone too far in this country to the point where men and women aren't really getting married anymore. Women aren't realizing that they're Christian until they're 40, and it's extremely late to figure that out. Like no, like we have no social cohesion. And then I say in Iran, they reject a lot of that stuff. It's not defense of necessarily what they're doing. It's just the reality. It's a fact. If I say the sky is blue and Putin says the sky is blue, it's not a defense of Putin. It's just the truth. It's not my fault that our leaders are lying so much. It's not my fault that everything that they tell us is a lie. I'm not asking them to lie about literally everything, but that's all they do. If they said we're arresting Maduro because he doesn't play ball with our foreign policy, that's the truth. Not that he did all these crimes that they're trying to frame him with. If they said we're trying to go after Iran for Israel, okay, but it's not. Oh, it's the people of Iran that we really care about. What are you talking about, bro? You don't even care about us. I want to live in a country that doesn't write articles about me in NPR with my taxpayer money. Excuse my language, the fucking IRS robs me. They lie. They do weird shit. They try to steal the money that I earn. The tax code makes absolutely no sense. My money's not even my money. I have to play all these stupid games and just get robbed all the time. And then they take my taxpayer money, give it to NPR. NPR writes an article about me for being against lockdowns, and then Chelsea Clinton shares it. Oh, yeah, I'm such a free bird here. Oh, what a great country. I get robbed. And then they write NPR articles about me. And then Chelsea Clinton tweets about how I'm the Tucker Carlson of Facebook. Yeah, that felt really good during 2021 when I'm locked in my house. Should I say what else happened to me or no? Because I haven't even told everybody else what else they've done to me, but that's okay. I'm not a victim. It is what it is. I'm just letting people know. It's like, oh yeah, but what we really need to do is go to Afghanistan and build them a school, because they just really need American schools. Meanwhile, they're trying to transgender your kid in third grade. But we need to go bring that to Afghanistan, because the Taliban, they're not pushing LGBT studies on their kids, and that's really what they need there. They need American schools to bring the CIA schools over there so their kids will be gay. Who believes this stuff? Someone said you're kind of a victim, bro. I'm not a victim, though. This is the life I chose, but we're all victims in a sense, because they're robbing us every year. They're robbing our taxes, and everything's just like annoying. It's like, oh, it's February again. Gotta look through all the money I made and this and that. It's like it's gonna take me. Obviously, I have an accountant, but it's like I have to add a lot of stuff up myself. It's like every year it just takes me so long. It takes me like weeks to do this, and then I pay this, and then they want this, and then they want that. Go get your car registered. It's like, yeah, I get it, but it's like, can I just give the money and be like, here, steal my money? I'm a citizen. I can drive a car. I'm a great driver. Like, just take all this stuff and then leave me alone forever. No, can't do that. They gotta like bother me every 2 weeks about everything. It just like never ends. But someone said, will you marry me? I mean, maybe. I'm single and ready to mingle, some would say, but I don't know. Should I marry an anonymous YouTube poster that I can't even see? Probably not, but I'm feeling a little froggy today. So, maybe let's go to Vegas. Screw it. Let's do it right now. And then also, like, the foreign aid is just straight money laundering. It's like, Kolomoisky, Zelensky, of course, Jeffrey Epstein was interested in Ukraine. I wonder why. Oh, they need $500 billion. Dude, once again, I don't want to complain or be the victim, but it's like sickening to me. It's like they need my money, and then they just give it to Ukraine, and then other people steal it or give it to weapons contractors. And it's just this massive cycle. How much money have we given to Ukraine? How much money have we given to Israel? Between the two, it's probably upwards of $1 trillion. They don't have their own money. Why do we even have to give foreign aid to Israel? We don't even have money. We're in debt. We're printing money on a computer and putting, like zeros in a freaking number, in a debt number. We're going into further debt so we can fork over free stuff to Israel and Ukraine. Why can't they go into debt for themselves? Why does nobody talk about this on Fox News and Newsmax? Why is this not on the television? Because we live in the Truman Show. It's like Trump is the perfect character because he turns people's brains into idiots. And then I say this stuff like, you're attacking Trump. I'm not saying it's his fault, but he's just another puppet. 4 years is going to go by and he's going to do a slightly better job than Joe Biden, but he's still going to roll in the infrastructure that's going to be used to oppress us. And then when Democrats use all the infrastructure that Trump rolled in to oppress us, he's going to sit there and then the next Republican is going to campaign on stopping it. And then they're not going to stop. It's a game. The game never ends until people figure this stuff out. But if people won't figure it out, then what are you going to do? You know, it's like I move on with my life. To be honest, I don't even I don't know. I like doing videos, but I don't want to bore people. It's like to me, everything I said today is everything that matters. Nothing else really matters. Oh, the Somalian fraud from the guy who never talks about Israel. Cool. Oh, Donald Trump took another 250 million from Miriam Adelson, and now he's brainwashing people into thinking he's Jesus. Cool. Oh wow, it's like who nothing matters. Come back in 3 years. Everything I said 6 years ago will be exactly the same. We're caught in a loop until people wake up to this stuff. So there's topics I could cover every day, but it doesn't matter. You know, I would just be doing it to make content and make money. I don't really care that much anymore. Someone said I'm gonna make a rap song called Goyim. Sounds like a banger. I saw some girl. I don't know. She was probably some girl. I like responded on Twitter and she was like, "Thanks." I was like, "Oh, I didn't mean to," but it just came in my feed this morning. And she was like, "Wake up." She was calling everybody Goyim. She was like, "Go to the gym, Goyim." I was like, "This is low key like inspiring. Makes me want to work out today." So someone said, "Don't let them kill your spirit." No, I'm not at all. I mean, I'm super happy. Life is good. I'm just what I'm saying is like, it's not killing my spirit. It's just like I don't know. I feel like there's a few ways to like really make content. I mean, I'm doing it, so I'm not like yesterday I got like 500,000 views. I think my video has 500,000 views. My Facebook page got like 15 million views on all my posts. So like I'm doing fine. But I'm just saying like the way to make like video content, it's like you have to like act perpetually shocked every day. You have to start like internet drama, like you have to be friends with somebody and then get mad at them and then be friends again. I'm not really into all that. So I'm trying to like figure out my role in the new age media because it's like I don't have the capacity to do the reports that I used to do as frequently as I do, but also I don't really need to do them as frequently as I used to because it's the same thing. Like it's Jeffrey Epstein. It's everything that I don't need. Do I even need to say it? If I told you what was really going on, they'd throw me in prison probably in half of the European countries. If I told you what was really going on, they'd probably ban me from traveling to Europe. So it's like we live in an Epstein matrix, right? The people that Epstein was talking to, that's whose world we live in. And you're allowed to exist in it if you do what they want you to do. All the Republicans that are allowed to be on Fox News and Newsmax and in the Trump administration, they're all part of that matrix. I mean, think about this. Ready? I'm going to go through some of the most important people in Trump's administration. You have Donald J. Trump, right? Speaks for himself, took $250 million from Miriam Adelson. I mean, I could go on and on about how Trump like slobbers over the Israel lobby, but I don't want to be called anti-Semitic. So before I play it, I want to play the clip of Trump saying it because I can't say this. I'm not allowed to say this because I don't take money from that lobby. But since Trump is like a complete puppet to that lobby, he's allowed to say stuff like this. So I'm gonna play the clip.
My father would tell me the most powerful lobby that there is in this country is the Jewish lobby. It's the Israeli lobby.
Thanks for saying it, buddy, because I'm not allowed to say it. All right. Let's go to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi spoke at some obscure Israeli conference in the last month with Miriam Adelson introducing her, Trump's big donor, who apparently talks in Israel with Alan Dershowitz about how Trump should serve a third term because he's doing so good for them, right? Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, is speaking at some Israeli-American conference being introduced by her friend Miriam Adelson. Fascinating. Dan Bongino, before he got in, he was asked the question, what cause is near and dear to your heart? He said, the defense of Israel. Before Kash Patel got in office, he said, we must do more for Israel or something like I forget the exact quote, but he's like, we need to do more for Israel. Kristi Noem, who gets to be the Department of Homeland Security, passed an obscure anti-Semitism hate speech definition into South Dakota in which less than 1% of her population is that ethnicity, but apparently they're so special they need speech laws there. All of the RFK, same thing. Look who he hangs out with and what he says. They're all only allowed to be there because they bow down to that lobby. We're living in the Truman Show. Obviously, Joe Biden sucks, but Republicans are fake opposition. It's like WWE where they're all characters, like Marco Rubio. Names one person in the Trump administration that isn't totally like groveling to the Israel lobby. Can you name one? JD Vance maybe, but he takes Peter Thiel Palantir money, so they don't care if he grovels or not. My favorite Zin flavor, I don't do Zins. Someone said on point as usual. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate you. All right. Someone said no sound. I'm just kidding. I think their sound is just not on yours. Someone said everything is a psyop lately. If you know what's going on, no psyop can trick you. But yeah, all mainstream media is a psyop. The Trump administration's a psyop. Democrats are a psyop. You know, I want to make a video for Instagram about all this ICE protesting because it's interesting because like there's nuance to it because ICE, even a lot of right wingers are like disaffected with ICE and they don't trust it and they're not sure like where they're going to go with this because Trump is such a sellout and everything. I'm not even just exaggerating. It's like when I thought Trump was going to do a good job with deportations, I'm like, okay, at least with deportations, he's just going to like focus on like illegal immigration, right? And immigration. Nope. You look at the DHS and they passed a sort of thing where it says that if you're here on a visa or you're here on a trip or you want to be a US citizen, they're scanning your social media for anti-Semitism. And if you're anti-Semitic, then they won't let you come to the United States. So now, basically Ron Paul, Thomas Massey, Candace Owens, Pat Buchanan, Tucker Carlson would probably not be able to come to America if they weren't citizens. So Trump is now rigging our immigration process for Israel and for his Jewish billionaire friends, but you can't say that he's doing it, but I just did. Okay. And then ICE trains with Israel. So it's like you want to support illegal immigration because it should have nothing to do with Israel, but everything has everything to do with Israel because Trump just wants to sell the whole country out. It's like we can't have a single thing. We can't even have deportations without Trump rigging the immigration process for Israel and for Zionism. So it's like now a lot of right wingers don't trust, Donald Trump, rightfully so, and they don't trust ICE, which is fair. But the one thing that I wanted to say, which was like, I'm going to make a whole video for Instagram on it, but it's like during lockdowns, right? Regardless of what you think about racial activism, the government locked you in your house, printed trillions of dollars. The billionaires fleeced us dry, inflated the currency, and robbed us blind. And to be honest, if you really want to think about the meta of all of this stuff, I'm not talking about the company, I'm talking about the word. That's probably why our country's like even more rigged now and Trump is even more comfortable just scamming everybody all the time, is because during COVID, they stole even more power and wealth. So now they're just like, excuse my language, but they're like, fuck you guys. We have all the power. We just lock you down. We just transferred trillions more dollars to us. You guys are even more fucked than you were before. That's the vibe that I get now. Like the amount of scams that they're doing, Democrats and Republicans, but especially the Trump administration, it's literally the Kermit the Frog meme. He's bent over, opening up, and letting his donors and billionaire friends just completely pillage the country. And I think a lot of what happened with that is, during COVID, they just snatched so much power. But anyway, what was the big protest during COVID? Did the mainstream media allow people and tell people, women, the black community, et cetera? Did they tell them, hey guys, it's time to get really pissed that the billionaires are robbing you blind. It's time to get pissed that this is happening, that you're locked in your house, that they're stealing your job, that you're unemployed now, that your friends are dying of overdoses because they took their life away. No, they said, wait, it's all about George Floyd because a certain group likes to use black pain and black suffering. And to be honest, I should probably play you the clip of the guy who puppeted Black Lives Matter. He's, maybe I'll even find that clip since I'm talking about it now. But they use that because it's useful during the thing. And it's like, that's what they got everybody riled up about, not the fact that they were locked in their house and that they were being completely robbed. And the reason I'm talking about this, someone said you're still talking about COVID, because it's the same thing as now. Everybody, like Billie Eilish, mainstream media, all these celebrities, they're all talking about ICE. I don't necessarily even trust what Trump's doing with ICE because Trump is not to be trusted. However, it's like this is the media approved activism. Billie Eilish can be mad because it creates a, white versus Hispanic. It creates a left versus right. It creates a Trump versus anti-Trump. It creates a, they're mad at this. So that's the mainstream activism. Even though there might be elements of it are true, you always have to ask yourself, when celebrities and stuff are doing it and the mainstream media is pushing it, it's probably not for your best interest. I'm going to play this clip real quick. Let me find it real quick, because I just want to show, I have to show clips of this, because if I just talk about it, it seems as if I'm just being like, completely hateful or whatever. That's what they'll say, at least. But I don't care what they'll say anymore. I like they've said it all. So I'm sure, once again, like I said, if I ever get drone struck, you should know who did it. And I'm not anticipated being drone struck. That's not what I want to happen, but I just want to like let people know, if that does ever happen or something like that happens or something mysterious happens, it should be like 100% obvious to you guys who did it. But I'm not worried about it. I'm just being transparent at this point. So this is the guy, and you'll never, this is why I don't respect most Republican media. They tell you surface level stuff about BLM. Oh, BLM, there's black lesbian ladies running it and stuff. Sure, absolutely. Talk about them all you want. Don't care, right? That's part of the story. Who was the one who introduced them to left-wing activism? Who was it? Who did that? It was this guy. And it was this guy's book that they were passing out on the campus when they were saying, "Oh, this book's like Mao Zedong's book. It's like his red book." And every mainstream media reported that. They were like, "Whoa, these black women are pushing this book of Mao Zedong, and Mao Zedong killed tens of millions of people. That's so messed up." Whose book was it? They never tell. They tell you here to keep you running in circles. They never tell you here. This is the person who inspired them and pushed them into activism. And here's where his activism comes from. If you're watching this live stream, you're not going to be shocked to hear, because he uses the same word as Jeffrey Epstein. You ready? Goyim. He uses the word Goyim too. The person who basically got the Black Lives Matter co-founder into left-wing activism. He uses the word Goyim to explain how he was inspired to do this stuff, of course.
How did you get started?
Well, I come out of a Jewish, socialist, somewhat anti-communist tradition. Not me, but that's what I come out of. Very strong anti-fascist. It's a joke, but I say that the fascist bastards were the first words that came out of my mouth, because that's all I kept hearing about fascists and Jews and genocide. And I'm very proud of my parents for not, at 5 years old, I was thinking about people starving in Europe. Yeah. I didn't know what Europe was. And there's a world made up of Goyim who attack us and put us in concentration camps, and we got to fight them. That was the main point. My mom said, stand up to those anti-Semites. Don't let them push us around. So then when I met the black movement, I said, oh, I thought Jews were assertive. Wait till I saw this is the ultimate assertion, the ultimate anger, and...
The ultimate anger. So his activism comes from, and if you look at his name is Eric Mann. He was part of the terrorist group Weather Underground, but he was also like the main organizer of the BLM co-founder and inspired them into this. But he says, my worldview comes from my mom telling me the world is made up of Goyim trying to attack us, and you have to stand up to those anti-Semites. And then when I saw black anger, I thought that's the ultimate anger when I saw black activism. So does it make more sense now why they're always pushing some sort of, BLM during lockdowns? Lockdowns were getting absolutely ransacked by billionaires, right? They're completely making a fortune off us, probably trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth transfer. Everyone's getting screwed over. People are dying because they just can't do anything. And then black activism comes up. I'm not saying BLM's the only one involved in the George Floyd stuff, because it was way bigger than that. But like, am I the only one who's going to tell people this stuff? You got to watch Fox News and Dinesh D'Souza. The left. I even saw some John Birch Society account like yesterday talking about, we got to stand up to the Bolsheviks because the Bolsheviks did this and killed millions of people. Who are the Bolsheviks? You know what I'm saying? Who are the Bolsheviks? I'll give you a hint. Go listen to the Anti-Defamation League's tweet when Donald Trump started talking about communists and socialists. I'll read it real quick, okay? Communists cast out. So this is what happened when Donald Trump started talking about casting out communists, etc. So the Anti-Defamation League tweeted, Former President Trump delivered remarks that were in character but still dangerous. His claims about expelling warmongers, driving out globalists, casting out communists, and throwing off those who hate our country is classic anti Semitic rhetoric. Why would the ADL say that expelling warmongers is anti Semitic, driving out globalists is anti Semitic, casting out communists is anti Semitic? Why would those be anti Semitic? What does that have to do with anti Semitism? What does the guy who puppeted BLM have to do with that? Oh, wait. What does George Soros have to do? Oh, wait. They're playing both sides. And to be honest, if people can't figure it out, then they really are stupid. Like maybe you are inferior if you can't figure this out. This is the world. I'm not mad that certain people think they're better. Like this is my challenge to other people. Maybe they are. Maybe they are better than you. Maybe they are smarter than you if you're too stupid to figure this out. It's like you don't get to be LeBron James just because you want to be. You're not, To me, this is obvious stuff, but to most people, to be to be fair, I do think that they most people do act like cattle. And I'm not trying to pick a fight right now because it's not necessary. But on my Facebook page, and once again, I don't care that much, but it's definitely like disheartening when all of the people that supported you for years turn on you. I'm trying to wake up boomers to this stuff. I've lost like hundreds of thousands of followers. These people are preying on my downfall. They're freaking out at me every single day, cursing at me. Maybe they are cattle. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like you try to wake up the cattle people, and this is how they treat you. People that have supported me for years, they're hoping I go broke. They're hoping I lose everything. They're unfollowing by the hundred. I lost over 100,000 followers in 1 month. I had 1.7, then I had 1.6, then I have 1.5. It is what it is, dude. I'll lose it all over this. I don't care. I'm not a liar. I'm dedicating my life to just being honest. My legacy is based off of truthful reporting. It is what it is. There's been wins, there's been losses, but I'm never going to lie for opportunities or money. But it's the over 50 crowd that's preying on my downfall because I'm trying to wake them up to everything I'm saying here. They don't want to hear it. They like Donald Trump more than they like their country. They like Donald Trump more than they like their kids. They like Donald Trump and they worship Donald Trump more than they worship Jesus Christ. They're willing to sacrifice their grandkids to Moloch before they wake up to this reality. These are sick people. They're spiritually sick. I don't know why they're so stupid. Maybe it's because they didn't have technology. Maybe it's because they were just a spoiled generation who got everything. I don't know. And I'm not saying it's every boomer because there's a lot of boomers that, boomers have probably helped me more than anybody else. I love boomers, but it's like this sad reality when I was this I won't say naive, but I was like a young guy who was like not as well developed as far as what's going on. And I was a lot more basic at first, right? For the first year or two, when boomers love my content, I was just like, yeah, Trump is not as bad as the Democrats say he is. Like Democrats are lying about Donald Trump, and it's weird. I don't get why they're lying so much. Like boomers loved that. But the second you get like a little bit more advanced, they turn on you. It's crazy. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe Epstein was right about these people. Maybe they really are cattle. Maybe they really are, less. No, I'm semi joking, but it's my challenge. It's like a halftime speech. You're down 30 at halftime. It's like, do you guys want to go home or not? You going to show up and play defense? Then play defense. If not, if you think you suck, then go home. It's a halftime speech. I'm trying to wake up the cattle. Are you cattle? Because if you are, then why would they treat you differently? I'm not annoyed I'm more annoyed at my peers and my countrymen and people in my political party than I am about other people, because it's like, I don't expect liberals to understand what I'm saying, but we have enough numbers on our side to do whatever we want, but we can't do whatever we want because you're worshiping a person who's working for people that think you're cattle. And the reason that you're being treated that way is because they don't like you. And I'm gonna just be really honest about everything now, because I want to be clear, even at the detriment of like what I probably shouldn't say, but I want to be clear because I do actually think it's nice and it's honest. Like with any religion or every race or any ideology, everyone doesn't think the same thing. Every Christian doesn't think the same exact thing. Every Muslim, there's going to be different ideologies. So when I talk about the Jewish ethnicity and Judaism, I just want to be clear. Not everybody feels this way. There's a bunch of Jewish people that aren't even religious. There's a bunch of great religious Jewish people, and there's a bunch of hardworking Jewish people that aren't the Rothschilds or Jeffrey Epstein. So it's like if you're an American citizen and you're Jewish and none of what I'm going to say applies to you, it's the same thing as when I talk about boomers. Not every boomer is doing this, but a majority of boomers are, which is why things are in a certain direction. It's just the reality of it. So I'm not doing this to be hateful in any way. I'm not doing this to accuse people in any way because, I would assume that the majority of people are not like a Rothschild or a Jeffrey Epstein, obviously. So, but with that being said, people need to understand the ideology to understand why this is happening. For example, if, a bunch of Armenians ran Poland, but they didn't like Polish people, and Poland started looking shittier, and it started looking like somebody was running them that didn't like them, at a certain point, it might be true. And it's not true. I'm not saying Armenia and Poland feel that way, but I'm just using two random examples. So in the United States of America, it's like if you're being run by people that think you're not them and they think you're cattle or they think you're nothing, then they don't care about you. And this isn't true to everybody because there's a lot of people that don't feel this way, but the people that are more loyal to Israel, which there are a lot, especially in major power positions, if it feels like they don't care about America that much, they don't. There's another country that they think is their homeland. There's another country that they're loyal to. It's not America. And, former spies like Jonathan Pollard, who Trump sent back to Israel on Sheldon Adelson's jet, he's called for all people of his ethnicity to spy for Israel. Go look that. And Mike Huckabee's having secret meetings with them. He's literally saying, hey, everybody should spy for Israel, like me. And none of our leaders say anything. Do you know why? Because they've normalized that. It's normal now. It's the status quo. You're almost in trouble if you don't do that. If you're not willing to sell out America, you're Thomas Massey. You're Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're the bad one for being America first. Why won't you sell out to this lobby we're all selling out to, Marjorie? Why won't you sell out to this lobby we're all selling out to, Thomas? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you believing in the Constitution and the American people? What's wrong with you, Ron Paul, for being a Christian? And actually, this is the reality that we live in. But when you look at what's going on, there's a reason for it. I'm not going to say with everybody, but do you think Jeffrey Epstein really has a deep care for the American people? Or do you think he feels connected to another country and a certain ethnic group? Everyone's allowed to. I don't even, there's a lot of people online now saying Jewish supremacy, because people say white supremacy. And no, it's really so, everybody wants to act like everyone's exactly the same. And it's not actually true. So I don't even like the word supremacy because just because you're better at some things doesn't necessarily make you a better person. And sometimes those things are evil and you're just being bad. So it's like, there's certain people that are better at sports. There's certain people that are better at building. And I'm sorry, I don't personally buy into this narrative that every group is exactly the same. I don't think if you gave everyone the exact same outcomes in every country, with every race, with every religion, that they would do the exact same things. I don't believe that. I don't, and that's why the world is beautiful. Everyone can do their thing and we can see how well it works, right? So I don't like the word even Jewish supremacy, even though that's what a lot of people are calling it, because it's like, I don't know. You're like, oh, you think you're better than someone. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of Americans who think they're better than Europe. Is that American supremacy? Like, who cares if America thinks they're better than Europe? What, if certain races think they're acting right and other races aren't acting right, that's their opinion. And, it's either not true or it's true. Like the word supremacy to me is just like, oh, it's like, who cares even if they think they're better than everybody, who cares? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Like, what are you better at? Are you smarter? Are you more righteous? Are you just better at scamming people? Are you willing to hurt other people more than other people are? Like, I'd rather be more specific than just like use a word to be like, you think you're better. Who cares if people think they're better? That's human nature and that's like normal. But if you think everyone's exactly the same, then that's beautiful too. Like my calling is not to think I don't take my ancestors, what they've done, and think that that's what I am necessarily. Like, I'm grateful for what my ancestors did, but this is, for any, like whoever's watching this, whatever race or religion or, whatever shade of human you are, it's not our responsibility, in my opinion, to just sit and say, oh, well, my ancestors did all this. What are you doing though? You're supposed to build off of what your ancestors did, not just sit there and take credit for it. So, I'm building my own legacy. I'm trying to honor my ancestors by working really hard and making something for myself, not just sit there eating, hot pockets and saying, oh, white people built this. Well, what are you building then, bro? If you're not building stuff, then you're dishonoring your ancestors. Like we all need to work hard and we all need to be great, or else we're just sitting taking credit for what other great people did. So I don't, I see a lot of people doing that too. It's like, well, it's time for you to build off of that. But with that being said, you know, when you get back to how Epstein and all these people are saying goyim, 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 they view them as different people, and in many cases lesser. And this is not everybody, but at certain high levels of certain things, they view you as like really, really lesser. So like they're not in it, they don't have your best interest in mind because they don't like you. They don't even think in some cases you're like even worth helping. So and I'm not going to get into it all because it's going to be, but look into what plan they have for you. It's not what people think it is. So, with all that being said, this is not to blame everyone because it's not true, but the American system and Europe system makes a lot more sense when you realize it's being controlled by people that don't like you. I saw a tweet the other day by a woman who said, we didn't come from Europe, because a lot of Palestinian activists try to tell Jewish people that they're Europeans, like they came from Europe, and they're not really Middle Eastern. That's like a conversation that like Zionists and anti-Zionists have all the time. I don't partake in it because I don't really care, but I see it, right? So I saw some woman, a Jewish lady, she said, she's very prominent, like Israeli Jewish activist. She said, we didn't come from Europe. She said, we escaped Europe. We survived Europe, right? Okay, that's her perspective, right? She's entitled to that. But that should give you an idea into what, like, they don't see themselves as like, oh, it's us in Europe. We're together. We're all white. You know what I'm saying? It's us in Europe and we're just one big family fighting the Islam. They don't think that way. In many cases, they hate you just as much as they hate Muslims. They view you as who tried to do something to them, and they're seeking a vengeance. They're seeking revenge. So it's not like Europeans are like, it's all of us versus the Muslims. And they're like, no, we're not you. First of all, we're not racially you. We're not religiously you. We're our own group. We don't want to be associated with you. And not only do we not want to be associated with you, we don't ever consider that even though we came from you, we survived you. You guys tried to hurt us. We don't like you. We want revenge. The system makes a lot more sense when you understand that that's what's happening. And I'm not even supposed to talk about this. I've known this for 6 years now. But it's hard to even say, because if you really talk about it thoroughly, they can destroy your life at any second because they control almost everything. So, it's like, oh, you can't say that. You can't. Kyrie Irving shared an Amazon documentary, and I'm not even saying it was accurate because I didn't even watch it. He shared an Amazon documentary and got suspended from the NBA. But you could tell people to, you could be against ICE, you could be pro lockdown, pro vaccine, but you can't share a documentary that challenges the narrative of the chosen ones. It's not everyone of that group, but at the high levels, absolutely, it is them. And they are thinking that. They don't view it as one big group. They're their own separate entity. They don't consider this their homeland. They don't consider you a part of their ethnic group. They don't consider you a part of your tribe. They consider you lesser, and they're treating you like it. And when it's all said and done, we'll see what happens, but it's like, yeah, it's like they already own everything. So I'm sure Donald Trump couldn't do anything if he tried. I mean, obviously, I think every man or every patriot should just speak the truth, like Thomas Massey. It's like you gotta be honest, you gotta speak the truth and let the cards fall where they may. Trump is the exact opposite. He'll do anything for money and power. And that's why he is who he is. Donald Trump is 80 years old, right? He's one of the richest people in American history. He was an icon. He's the president of the United States. Yet, if you really know what's going on and you listen to how he talks, he sounds like an emasculated puppet. He sounds like a dog. Like he sounds like a little bit like he doesn't even sound powerful to me anymore. He's like, I'm allowed to be here because, I suck on the power teats. What's the point of being the president of the United States and a billionaire if you have no power? I have more power than Donald Trump. Not to like go after people. Donald Trump could probably drone strike me and throw me in prison, and he'd probably want to because he's such a petty baby. But it's like, that's not real power. That's, that's weakness. Yeah, that's worldly power, but real power is the ability to say what you really feel. And to be honest, there's a lot of politicians who feel how I feel, but they just can't say it. If you want to know how politicians really feel, listen to the Nixon tapes that they didn't tell you and show you about. Listen to what Nixon said about what I just said. Listen to what Nixon said to Billy Graham. Listen to what Billy Graham said to Nixon. There's Christians. I had a buddy who's a pastor who had a Billy Graham tattoo. And he's like one of these guys where he's like always talking to rabbis and stuff, which is cool. Talk to whoever you want, right? I'm not trying to separate the religions. But I said, do you know what Billy Graham told Nixon on the Nixon tapes? He goes, no, what? I was like, well, let me read it. I don't want to like misquote it. And I played it, the clip, or I showed it to him. And he like couldn't believe it. I'm like, you got a tattoo of the man, but you don't even know what he really felt. Cause he was like telling Nixon, they control pornography. They're going to take this country down the drain. And Nixon said, I can't ever say that I agree with you, but I do. I know. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's what they really think. And that was 30, 40 years ago. Now it's probably impossible to even say anything like that, but it's like, it's not like I'm saying something that these people don't know. They know, they just can't say it. What's the point of being a president if you can't even say what you really think? What's the point of being a billionaire who runs the country if you don't even run the country? It's like, it's embarrassing. I'd rather die. I'd rather anything, obviously I don't want to. I want to live a long time, get married, etc. But it's like, these people are pathetic. They're traitors. They're sellouts of the highest order. But I wanted to say all that to say this, like the reason it feels like the people who run America don't like us is because they don't. And it's not all one race or one religion either. There's sellouts of all kinds that are just running rampant over us. But that's why it's so important to understand the basis of what's going on. It's like, why did mass migration happen? Well, who is behind mass migration? If you understand history, you understand why they support mass migration. Of course, some other people did too, and some women and stuff. It's not all one group. But if you really look at the orchestrators behind mass migration, you can listen to quotes. This is why I know so much stuff. I don't just sit here and say, I think. Sometimes people say to me, I think this, I think that. I know you think that because you're not thinking straight. It's like, what you think doesn't matter. What you think only matters. My opinion, I always tell people this, my opinion doesn't matter. My opinion only matters if it's based off of fact and it's right, then it's not an opinion anymore. My opinion doesn't matter. What you think doesn't matter because you don't research, you don't think. So I think this, I think that. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Here's what I think, but it's not based off of just what I think. It's based off of reality. I'm not just thinking this is what they're doing. I'm hearing and listening to it. Some of the people who push mass migration on the world, they said, we feel safer when there's a lot of different ethnic groups. When it's just us, historically, we've been persecuted. So if we mix it up a little bit, we feel a lot safer. You look at Europe and you're like, oh, what's going on? It's like, on one hand, yeah, some people are saying they don't like it and they're against it. Others, they're purposely doing it because it's like 1,000-year, they're viewing it as them versus Rome. You listen to them, they say, we lost the last battle versus Rome. We're not going to lose this one. We're not going to lose this. They're essentially at war with you. You just don't know it. It's covert. And they're destroying Europe, and they're destroying Australia, and they're destroying Canada, and they're destroying America purposely, right? This is now, at this point, people are brainwashed. People are in on it. It's not like it's one group, but if you want to know the real oomph behind the thought of it, that's where it comes from. They're purposely doing it because they don't see them as you. They're not you. And in some cases, everything that they say is a projection of what they're doing. All the things that they say other people are doing is what they're doing. Someone said most pastors and politicians are controlled by the same puppet masters. I agree, Teller. And once again, I just have to be clear about this. I'm not saying everyone's doing this. And I'm not saying that any group doesn't have people doing this. That's not accurate. But the reality is that's a huge part of what's going on. And people like, obviously, like Peter Thiel in Palantir donates to Trump and stuff, and he's more like conservative, allegedly. But Alex Karp voted for apparently Kamala Harris. But as soon as Donald Trump wins, he donates to Donald Trump. It's like they don't care who wins the election. The people above the president, they don't care who wins the election. They'll compromise or buy them off anyway. It's like, oh, we like the other person. Look how much money Donald Trump raised during his inauguration. It was like hundreds of millions of dollars. That's after the election when they realized that that's the puppet that they need to dump money into. They dump money into him, and then they do him favors. And people say, oh, well, $1 million's not that much money. It absolutely is a lot of money. You give $50 to Donald Trump, he doesn't even know who you are. You give $1 million to Donald Trump, he knows who you are, and you might get a cabinet position out of that. You might get a government kickback. You might get a contract. $1 million is a lot of money. $250 million is even more money. And that's what his big donors do. But it's like, oh, well, Donald Trump is so rich, it doesn't matter. If it didn't matter, he'd use his own money. He doesn't want to use his own money because he'd rather take other people's money and then do things for them. That's just the reality of it. Someone said the war with Rome never ended for them. 100%. I mean, dude, I'll just play the clip. I might download it and play it now, but hopefully it's not copyright stricken. But Harrison Smith did a really great compilation of like, maybe I won't play it, but if you go to his, like, let me see if he has it pinned. Yeah, he does have it pinned to the top. It's called The Eighth Front, Israel's War on Reality. Go watch that video. Go watch that video. He did a compilation of just everything that they're saying. I mean, I could, if you guys want, I could play it for you. I might get copyright stricken. I don't know if the music is copywritten or not, but it's a brilliant compilation of just everything that they're saying. And it's like you get in trouble for just saying what they're saying. The reason we all know this stuff is because they're saying it out loud. It's not being put on the television. It's not being put on mainstream media. And anybody that's addicted to Trump is so far down the totem pole of like IQ at this point. Maybe not IQ is the right word, but you're so far down the pole of understanding. Like people are like 10 years ahead of you on these topics. If you're like, oh, Somalia, it's like that's the little crumb that they threw you because they know that their friends are doing way more fraud. They want, like, listen, I know if I'm sure there's some really great Somalian people here, but I'm sure there's also some scammers, right? But that's like such a little, like, look there, look at that. And it's like, all right, I'm looking there. Now what now? We're not doing anything about it. Why are you not doing anything about it? It's just because I don't know if we can. It's like, that's not, then what's the point? Play it. All right, I will. Hold on one second. I'm just going to like trim it a little bit because, hold on. I don't know. I guess not. I'll just play it. Hopefully I don't get copyright stricken. And it's long. I don't think I'm going to let the whole thing play. I'll probably let like a couple minutes play, but Harrison posted, he said, I might get killed for posting this, so you should watch it. That's what Harrison posted. So I don't know if that's true, but I guess I'll just play it. Why not?
I think there's another revolution coming. I tend to steer it along with the achievement of a broader peace. When history is within reach.
So what Israel is fighting here is not merely a seven-front war, but an eighth-front war.
For the Jews against Rome.
Rome and Jerusalem clashed over values with a great tragedy for the Jewish people.
Well, we lost that one. We have to win the next one.
But the new Rome, the United States,
the Jews against Rome.
We stopped playing defense and have moved to offense.
The weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well.
But we need the kind of genius that manufactured Apollo gold pagers and infiltrated Hezbollah for over a decade to prepare for this battle.
But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media.
Because the next war will be decided based on how Israel and its allies perform online as much as offline.
this is the eighth front, the disinformation campaign.
It is actually this eighth front where our enemies believe they can actually defeat the Jewish state.
This is the kind of ingenuity and inventiveness that have always been a hallmark of the state of Israel, that have always been a characteristic of the Jewish people. I know we can do it.
A lot of this is done with money.
Invested billions and billions of dollars in the information battlefield.
Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster.
We prohibit harmful stereotypes about Jewish people, such as claims that Jews control financial, political, or media institutions.
You're damn right we're going to cancel them and deplatform them.
We monitor them online, social media, messaging apps, video games, cryptocurrency,
Hitler admirers, Stalin admirers, Jew haters,
podcasts, short form video, Wikipedia, LLM.
American haters, Churchill haters.
We monitor these people and we share the intelligence with the FBI.
You think your stupid little podcast is going to change the world? Like hell it is.
Social media, this is the new battlefield.
You don't get to wrap your psychotic, mental, unhinged Nazi.
We do not allow Holocaust denial and distortion.
And the most important purchase that is going on right now is
TikTok.
TikTok, number one.
For every 30 minutes that someone watches TikTok, they become 17% more anti-Semitic.
So you have TikTok just smashing our young people's brains all day long with video of carnage in Gaza.
And so we really have a TikTok problem.
Because anything that we try to say to them, they are hearing it through this wall of carnage. And I sound obscene.
Anti-Zionism is just Jew hatred.
We made a change.
We updated our policies
to designate the use of the term Zionist
to recognize that the term Zionist
as a proxy for a protected attribute
can be used as a proxy for Jews and Israelis
as hate speech.
Why can't Israel be doing some sort of, counterintelligence?
Right now, the ADL is co-writing Sunday school curriculum.
Information warfare like this.
It's building the technology to train the LLMs more effectively.
Like psychological operations in America.
As part of a robust framework to combat anti-Semitism, we have industry-leading policies designed with the safety of the Jewish community in mind.
You're right, we control the media. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to bitch on Twitter? Like, okay. Meanwhile, we're going to control more of the media.
And working with OpenAI, with Alphabet, with Anthropic, with Meta, with Microsoft, we are working with them now to train the LLMs.
We also have, I think, over 24 Jewish organizations that are constantly feeding us intelligence and information.
So number one, we measure and track. Number two, we monitor and disrupt. We have a whole apparatus. I have 40 analysts working full-time, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, monitoring extremists.
Monitoring campuses, digital networks, activist groups, and public officials.
We have several PhDs on staff. We have a network of academics and scholars we work with around the country.
I've talked to the leaders of AI in the world, and you ask yourself, there's so many blessings in this, but there could be a curse.
First thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model.
We need to invest in intelligence to understand who are the anti-Semites, who's funding them, what's their plans, who are the leaders, and then once we have that, we can define who is an enemy we can attack.
You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your genomic data. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform.
Once we have all this information, we need to empower and mobilize an ecosystem of many organizations that we can incentivize them to work together, to share, and to fight against our common enemies.
Mobilizing millions of people, of allies that are quietly by our side.
Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Anti-Semites, most of these people running around, we're not going to win their hearts and minds because they don't have hearts and they don't have minds. So, how are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them, we can put them in jail, we can make their lives miserable, we can cut off their funding.
You've got all these conspiracy theorists online going on and on about how, if you try and say anything, if you try and do anything against Jews, they're going to come after you.
We have featured more than 1,000 anti-Semites.
And they're going to destroy you and take away your business, and therefore you have to be really, really scared.
These Jew haters have faced real consequences, including firings, suspensions, and expulsions.
And it's kind of starting to come true.
We will shine a light on you that will follow you for the rest of your life. When you look for a job, when you look for a spouse, when you look for a nanny, when you look for anything.
And I love that. I love it.
We remove hate speech against Zionists when these harmful stereotypes about Jews are invoked.
In the past 12 months, ADOS filed more lawsuits than in the prior 112 years.
Over the weekend, I received concerning news that I was being sued for $5 million.
Vicious, communist, racist, Jew-hating, Israel-bashing monster.
Defendant frequently posts anti-Israel rhetoric accusing Israel of controlling the United States and its politicians.
We at the ZOA will fight these dangerous and monstrous lies with all of our hearts and souls. No appeasement, no conciliation, only a war against this racist hatred of the Jewish people.
When there is a war, it doesn't matter who your enemy is, you need to destroy their offspring to prevent them from creating more offspring.
What you try to do is you want to corral your victim, but in fact, your countries are the victim. So you dehumanize a group of people in human society, and you prepare them for the kill, for the butchery.
A government can do in 2 months more than any organization can do in its lifetime.
The J7 is comprised of the 7 largest diaspora communities. We meet every other week via Zoom to share information, to share best practices.
And we're running everything all the time, from focus groups to attitudinal surveys to randomized controlled trials to identify what interventions work most effectively.
Finally, we have meetings that are some off the record, some on the record with world leaders, in which we share our community's concerns and call for action.
The entire education system in this country, from K through 12 and colleges, must be reformed.
But it's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it.
The way we solve anti-Semitism is pretty goddamn simple.
Take control over what they are saying.
Send their ass to jail. It's not complicated.
And quickly before it's too late.
We're monitoring political Islamists and Christian nationalists, all of them. And then we train. We're the largest trainer of law enforcement in America, extremism and hate. We train 20,000 officers every year.
Try that again.
Here because of the comments made online about the Jewish community.
We deeply value our partnership with law enforcement. We've been working with them literally since the FBI was founded in the 1930s.
Okay, so is that your account?
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about. I would think to refrain from posting things like that.
We are going to have a whole division within the office of the Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism that is going to work on technology. We must take all of our technological expertise and all of our available resources to develop methods to launch and win a significant counter-information campaign.
The products of our technical capacities and sometimes technical and intelligence genius, and we're happy to do it.
The office is going to be revamped entirely to be one of the highest profile offices in the State Department.
Because it's not working. Too many young people have never heard of the Holocaust.
The only solution right now is for the governments to decide that all the Jews are a protected minority. That means that the governments will be obliged to provide the security.
Upgrade. All right, I think that's enough. But people asking for the full compilation. It's on Harrison Smith's Twitter account. I don't know. You want me to look up what his Twitter account is? You should be able to find it if you search Harrison Smith. It's Harrison H. Smith on Twitter or X. The X. Yeah, but he did a super compilation of all those things. Yeah, I'm not saying it's mine. It's a compilation of like everyone talking. I don't think Harrison would care, so I appreciate him for putting it together. Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. And like I said, I'll read a few comments after this. I started talking about politics in 2016. In 2019, I realized they were passing anti-Semitism speech laws into America. And as soon as I figured that out, like the entire matrix revealed itself to me. That's how I knew so long ago, because I was just trying to talk about it and everything just like unfolded. People started calling me anti-Semite. People told me that I wasn't allowed to go on their show because I was like far right, even though I was like more left wing at the time than they were. So I saw this. I was like, wait, what's going on? I didn't realize that that's how everything worked until I just started talking about it. I was like, yeah, I don't know about these speech laws in America. That seems like anti-First Amendment. And then it's like the Wizard of Oz. The curtain goes back, the little guy pops out. You're like, oh, what's going on here? So, and, I have been an anti-Semite of the week one time. It's not my proudest moment, but I don't know. I'm trying to think what I was doing. Probably just telling the truth or something. I don't know. They really hate the truth. The truth, it's like bothers them a lot, but whatever. Guess who's running the FBI? Let me look here. Let me find a clip of Kash Patel. Let's see. Kash Patel, Israel. Let's do it. I think this guy's running the FBI. Hold on. He's fighting the deep state real hard, buddy. And if you don't think he's fighting the deep state, you're just jealous. You're just jealous of Dan Bongino. You're just throwing popcorn into the arena. You just popcorn throwing cattle boy, trying to throw popcorn into the arena. These real patriots that are fighting the deep state. How dare you question Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, you popcorn throwing jamoke.
We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis and make sure we stand by our number one ally in Israel.
That's who's running the FBI. Wait, what do we need? What do we need to do more? I think we're not doing it enough. We don't give them enough money or support. Our whole country doesn't revolve around it. What do we need to do, Kash?
We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel and bring home Israelis and make sure we stand by our number one ally in Israel.
Amen, brother. That's my brother from another mother. Yes, we do. Yes, we can. Yes, we can, brother. We can do more for Israel. We need to do way more. We're not doing enough. Thank you, brother. I hate all these anti-Semites saying, oh, America first, America first. No, wake up and do things for Israel. Duh. How about Dan? What's near and dear to your heart?
That's right. What cause is dear to your heart?
Cause is dear to my Israel, the defense of Israel.
What is number one?
Was that his wife or his ex? I don't know if he's still married to her. That's his wife standing next to him. She says, what cause is near and dear to your heart? He says, Israel. Why not America? I wish it was America, but that's okay. But you're just jealous. You're just jealous of these real arena fighters, right? And you know the real problem in this country, patriots, you know what it is? It's Thomas Massey for not selling out to the Israel lobby. It's Tucker Carlson for talking about the Israel lobby. That's the real problem in this world. I did a whole video on it. The FBI made a rapid response Twitter to rapidly respond to people. First two responses, Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey. So not only is the FBI not fighting the deep state, but they're going after Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey. It's pretty frightening. But at a certain point, you got to just not be scared and just understand that that's how it works. Someone said Christianity is the original woke culture. They always think they have the moral high ground while they worship the people that must not be named. Here's my thoughts about that, my guy. Like, if if you're not Christian, that's for you to decide. But I think this is just my perspective. Christians for like thousands of years have always understood this stuff. Like, it's only recently I feel like that they've completely forgotten about it. So it's just quite the uphill battle to be like, I'm against Zionism and Jewish supremacy, but I also don't like Christians. It's like, I don't know. It feels like you're going to sit with like 7 people and just complain about that. Like, you need the billions of Christians to be like Christians of like 100 years ago. So I don't know. It's up to you, but I don't agree, but you can. Someone said, I grew up a Christian. I learned more about the Bible this past year than I ever knew. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Someone said Massey Paul 2028. That would be amazing. But someone said Christianity destroyed Europe. I mean, I don't know about that, but I feel like it built Europe. But the right Christians built Europe. The wrong Christians destroyed it. To each their own, though. Someone said we don't need to prioritize Norway. We need to prioritize Israel for some reason. Well, it's because it's because the Israel lobby pays politicians, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's so anti-Semitic, bro." You don't see politicians like popping up to speak at like random, like middle class Jewish neighborhoods. They go to these donor rallies and they talk in front of billionaires. That's the funniest part about it all. It's like, let's just say you're totally pro-Israel, like you're, whatever, like you live at the synagogue or whatever. It's like, if you're not connected to somebody with money, none of these Republican Zionists care about you. It's not like they're going to Lakewood, New Jersey, or like, Bronx or Brooklyn in like New York and like talking in front of like average, like Jewish people that don't have a lot of money. They're going to speak in front of people that are paying them. Like, that's literally how it works. And they stand there and they say, we need to do more for Israel. And then they give them money. And then the politician's like, you're an anti-Semite and you don't like Jews as much as I like Jews. And you're like, dude, you're like, imagine if black people just paid me millions of dollars and I just went and spoke in front of like Jay-Z and I'm like, we need to do more for the blacks. And then Jay-Z gave me like $1 million and I'm like, you're a racist if you don't like the blacks as much as me. Like, that's literally what they're doing with Jews. Literally. Like, it's so laughably ridiculous. Like, they go to these weird like conferences. They put up like, a backdrop like this, except it says like Republican Jewish Coalition or like International Jewish Association. They have one like every week. Every week there's a new one. Nancy Mace is here. Pam Bondi's with Miriam Adelson. It's like every week, bro. They got a new little like Jewish Israeli American thing. And then like the politicians come and they're like, you know what the problem is? I'm Ted Cruz. I may look like my face got hit with a shovel, but trust me, they tell me I'm really good looking here. But anyway, I need to do more for Israel, you darn Tucker Carlson. And then they're like, ooh, he's a good one. And then they give him money. And he's like, oh, it's anti-Semitic to disagree with me getting money tonight, you darn anti-Semite. It's so laughably ridiculous. Like, it's like, bro, none of these people care about Jewish people. None of these people probably even care about Israel. They just like money. It's like so embarrassing. If they care about like Jewish people, they would have flew to Israel during vaccine mandates, or they would go to like normal Jewish neighborhoods in like LA or New York, but they don't. They literally just talk in front of rich Jews and take their money. That's all they do. But I'm a bad guy for talking about it. It's like, no, I actually have relationships with actual people that aren't just for money. But someone said these anti-Christians on social media lie. Jacob Israel had 12 sons tribe. Judah was only one tribe, still leaves 11 Israelites, non-Jewish tribes. I mean, yeah, I don't agree with the people that are not Christian, but that's, it's whatever. Someone said you're tax cattle. It's true. I am a tax goyim. I'm what they call a goyim. I'm a tax cattle. I go moo, and then they steal my money and call me an anti-Semite and then send it to Israel. So it's unfortunate. Obviously, it's not my proudest moment, but I absolutely am a tax cattle. I'm just another hardworking goyim. What can I say? I'm doing my best out here, but I need to work harder so they can steal more of my money. And by they, I mean the IRS. I posted some. I had a tweet go viral. Hold on. I'm going to just read it real quick. I said they lied about Gaddafi. And then like, dude, the people that must not be named really didn't like this one. I can't find it, but whatever. I was like, they lied about Gaddafi. They lied about Iraq. They lied about, they're lying about Maduro and Iran too. That was my tweet. And I didn't mean for it to go viral. It was like a mistake viral. It was like 12:30 at night. I'm sitting in bed. I'm like, send, and then I woke up and it was like everywhere. And then, people that must not be named were like, what do you mean by they? And I was like, I didn't even like they, I don't know, the US government, the media, like who's lying about who? I don't know. Let's look at it. Who lied about Iraq? Who lied about, even in that tweet, even though I'm talking about so much like Jewish stuff in this thing, I wasn't even thinking when I posted that, like it was them. I was literally thinking like the media, the US politicians, right? Like the United States, basically, not everyone, but whoever lied about all the wars, the neocons, right? I wasn't even thinking about them, but they were like, who did you mean by that? I'm like, why do you see yourself in this tweet? I don't know. Like, I don't even know who you are. Do you support these wars? Like, I don't know. Jeffrey Epstein did, but what? It's like who's they? I'm like, you want to take credit for this one? I wasn't even thinking about you at 12:30 at night, but if you want to take credit for it, you could have it. Will I sell Epstein jackets like Fuentes? Don't. Yeah, obviously not. I'm not going to sell Epstein jackets, but it's not my style. But if he wants to do that, you know, it is what it is, I guess. I saw an Instagram account selling Epstein jackets too. They had an AI Epstein like dancing and doing like TikTok dances. And then they're like, get your Epstein jacket. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, bro, who's going to buy an Epstein jacket off of Instagram? It's like, dude, I just saw this AI video of Epstein dancing and it looked really cool. Let me go buy his jacket. It's like, bruh, to be fair, if that jacket wasn't used in that way, it's definitely not the least cool jacket I've ever seen, but it's kind of like the Hitler mustache, you know? It's like the Epstein jacket. It's kind of like you know, it's known for that now. So if you ever wear it, I'll be like, "Is that the Epstein jacket? Did you buy that from Fuentes or like Instagram?" You know? But I don't know. Like remember when Jordan had like the Hitler mustache and people were like, "Why are you doing that?" He was like, "I think it looks cool," you know? And then he was in a Hanes commercial. He's like, "Hanes, it is what it is." And people are like, "Oh, snap. He's got the little thing." Someone said, "Yeah, you're cooked." Why am I cooked? What did I do? Epstein, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but Epstein sounded like super he sounded like super Jewish. I don't know. When I heard the interview with him, I never heard him talk. He was like, "Oing, oing." Like I was like, I don't know. I didn't know he sounded like that. He sounded like an older Dave Portnoy kind of. Like Dave as he gets older, he's like, "Oing, oing." You know, he talks like that now too. He's got that like super like, "Oh no." So that's kind of how Epstein talks. He's like, "Well," and I was like, "Wait, that's what Epstein sounds like." Kind of ruined his aura a little bit for me, but you know, I was never a big fan anyway. But once I heard him talk, I was like, "Dang." He's like, "Well," and I'm like, "Am I allowed to say how he sounds to me or no?" Like if someone talks in a Jamaican accent, you could you know, you could say they sound Jamaican, but am I allowed to say he sounded that way? Am I still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Uh, yeah, but in a very respectful way. Not to him, but you know, it's like I'm not just out here, "Oh, it's the Democrats, it's the Trump." Like that doesn't interest me. What interests me is like what was he doing? He was like the most powerful person. He knew everybody. I mean, that's interesting. Um, if we had a real government, they would care a little bit more into what he was doing, but they don't. So I think, at least to me, maybe this isn't the right way to do it in your opinion, but to me, it's like there's so much there that takes the puzzle that we all knew was there and it shows you real proof. So that's what's going to happen. Even if they don't charge a single person or go after a single person or investigate, because I don't think there's anything there that they could charge for. Um, it shows you how it really works. I mean, he was comfortable emailing someone being like, you can kill that person. Like that's crazy in an email. And then other things he was like, "Oh, I don't want to say this over email." Think about what he was comfortable saying in an email and then ask yourself what he was doing outside. But I guess our Justice Department's not interested in that, but you know, they'll bust like a poker ring in Los Angeles or something, but they're just not interested in Jeffrey Epstein's rings. You know, that's not of value to them somehow. But I don't know. I don't think they're ever going to get to the bottom of all the sick stuff he was doing, but I think the emails show that he was connected to everybody and he was facilitating deals. He was into our foreign policy. He was a power level above like Palantir to some extent, it seemed like in some ways. Like he was the most connected person in the whole world and it showed what he was saying. I don't know. I still feel like the drops were a huge blessing to be blessed with that information on a government website. And you have people like Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, Marjorie who pushed for it, others. Like without them, it never would have came out. What can we do? Mandy said. Well, here's the thing, because I'm all about like obviously I get passionate sometimes, but like I'm very calculated and I'm very I try to be calm. Cuz when you get upset and you get angry, like it doesn't matter. I'm not just saying this. I do believe that people doing this is a Fed trap, but I'm also just saying this cuz this is actually how I believe. We don't live in the 1700s anymore, okay? The same way they're talking about information warfare, even though they're literally doing warfare and just like destroying entire nations. But besides that, it's like we don't live in the 1700s anymore. Like I'm tired of hearing Republicans that are like, I'm mad. Trump's not who I thought he was. Now I'm mad. You're mad because you just figured it out yesterday. Like, relax, go sit on the couch, calm down. Like it's not like, oh, I'm going to get my musket. No, you're not. Your team isn't even your team. Nobody's on your side. You're not doing anything. So go sit down and stop getting Fed trapped all the time. It's like, I'm mad at the election. But you're not mad at Trump for 15 days to slow the spread, but you're not mad about him printing trillions of dollars. Who cares that you know what I'm saying? It's like people just get mad and they don't even know what's going on. So it's like, from my vantage point, what people need to do is just figure this stuff out and get enough people to figure it out. Like that's the only solution, because like everything over time changes when it has to change. But anybody just getting upset, it doesn't do anything. It's like you're just like spiking your like stress levels and then nothing happens. So it's, for example, with Trump, right? Let's just say Republican politics. To me, this would be an easy solution if people actually challenge Trump, but they don't. Trump doesn't feel any pressure to do anything for you. And the only time he ever even feels a little pressure to do stuff for you is when he's polling really badly. Like he's incredibly selfish, and people who pay him money are way more important than you. So when Trump, like say the Epstein stuff comes out, Trump's looking shitty. He keeps saying affordability is a non-issue. He would say affordability isn't an issue anymore because I'm president for the rest of his life if he could get away with it. The reason he can't is because people are like, dude, that's a stupid statement. You're like, you're cratering your support. You're going to blow everything. And then the Democrats are going to come after you or whatever. So then Trump looks at it and he's like, okay, I got to do something for these people because they're not happy with what I'm doing. He doesn't actually care. You have to make them care. So if Republicans actually believed in the conservative side, because right, the Democrat side's not going to help us, more than 50% or at least like 40% of his fan base, maybe more, they need to come together and say, Trump, we don't believe you anymore. Your whole administration's a sham. We know you're controlled by the Israel lobby. We know you're sold out to mega corporations. We know you're doing your friends favor. You're a scammer. You're not doing that much with deportations. You're rigging the immigration system for Israel. Like you're a fraud. Then he would have to do something. So bitching about it's not going to matter, and people getting freaked out is not going to matter, but enough people have to care. And this is the sad part about a country. If enough people don't care, then you don't actually deserve the results. Like in England, their country's getting completely ransacked and conquered, but English people seem like total cowards, right? Like this is my reference point because I listen to MMA. And I met him one time at a boxing event I was at, Nate Diaz versus Masvidal, but Michael Bisping. And I say this respectfully, he could definitely beat me up because he fought in the UFC, but I do feel like I'm actually more of a man than him because, and I'd say it to his face too. I don't give a shit. If he choked me out, it would be what it is. I'd run away. I'm fast, but I listen to Michael Bisping talk about England, and he's such a coward. He's like, oh, I can't, because he knows he doesn't have the freedom to say stuff. I think he lives in America, but he like pussyfoots around every topic, and like basically Michael Bisping, even though he's one of like the strongest Englishmen in the world, he kind of just cares about, UFC money, and he just wants to keep his job and not offend anybody. Like he's a coward. So it's like his country's getting ransacked. He knows his country's getting ransacked. He's one of those leaders who could actually say something about it, but he'd rather just make money in America for his family and let the country he comes from get completely, basically genocided over time and replaced. And it's like most, Englishmen, not all, but a lot, they don't want to say anything, So then they lose. So that's America. Like Democrats are brainwashed, but most Republicans that worship Trump and don't want to question him, they don't deserve anything. Like, and unfortunately, that's a majority of our movement until the numbers change. So, like, what can you do about it? You got to get people to figure this stuff out. If enough people don't figure this out, nothing will change. There's nothing to do about it. So, how do you get people to figure this stuff out? You could lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I think that's this whole thing. I've tried for years, but I don't stress myself out over it because sometimes it takes longer than you think it should. But, I would say compared to 2019, nobody, not nobody, but barely anybody talked about this stuff. And now everybody's talking about this stuff. So I've already seen a lot of progress. And here's the sad part about all this stuff. And it's like my relationship with Facebook, because it's my biggest platform. The boomer generation, not all of them, but most boomers, they're the dumbest on this topic. They're the most brainwashed on this topic. They're the most incorrect on this topic, but they're the most stubborn. And I'm not saying all boomers, because there's a lot of great boomers, but I just want to talk about the archetype stubborn boomer. It's like they're such a disgusting, evil creature at this point because they're so ignorant, they're so stupid, but they're so proud of their ignorance. They're so invested in it. It's like humiliating where you're like, that generation, on average, not all, they're the ones who don't know anything about the Israel lobby because they've been listening to the Israel media and the Israel politicians their whole life. Their whole life has been about that. So it's like they're the generation that owns all the wealth. They're the generation that owns all the houses. They're the generation that has the money to spend. They're the generation that controls the voting bloc and the Trump support. And they won't budge on this topic. So it's like, unfortunately, and I don't say this with any sort of joy because at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of great things about boomers. Like, there's a lot of things that they do right that other generations don't. So I love boomers, but it's like they're so stupid and brainwashed on this topic. Nothing's going to change until they go away. And I don't want them to go away. I'm not like a morbid sicko person. I love boomers, but it's like there's a lobby controlling our country. Boomers don't know anything about it. They don't want to hear about it. If you try to tell them about it, they pray for your downfall. They work with the establishment to ruin you. They don't even realize that they're like worshiping Rothschild puppets, and they don't want to hear it. And they're never going to listen, because if they're 65 and they don't want to listen now, it's not like at 70 they're going to get some humility. They have no humility. And I'm not saying everybody, but elderly people in history were always the wisest, right? As you get older, you should get wiser. It's just fascinating. Not all, but the stubborn boomer is like this archetype of like incredibly selfish, incredibly delusional, incredibly spoiled, incredibly ignorant, incredibly proud of their ignorance, and incredibly unwise, like no wisdom whatsoever on certain topics that matter. So the sad part is like it's part baked into their selfishness where, if they weren't selfish, they would learn this because it would help their kids and their grandkids, but they just don't care. It's the same way that they're like, well, I have the money. Well, you guys are screwed. Well, I had a good, like they're just like, they're ready to just ride out what they made, and they just have no concern for the future. Whereas I don't even have kids. What I'm saying? I'm in my 30s, and I have a lot of concern. At the same time, obviously I want kids, etc. But once I have kids too, I'll care even more, because it's like, this is the world I have to grow up in. This is the, and they have to grow up in, and they're going to inherit this. So it's just their pure ignorance and selfishness that's holding this topic back. How do you get boomers to figure this out? As somebody that's getting absolutely, destroyed by boomers on my Facebook page, I've learned that you almost have to trick them. And I'm not like, I don't want to trick them, but I'm not saying everybody, but some of them are so rude and ignorant. You almost have to like use what they know in order to show them. Like, if you show them that Trump's doing it, they freak out at you and they act like cattle. But if you show them like Lindsey Graham is doing it, then they understand, like they can't handle basic concepts because they're addicted to like hero worship. And they like, I don't know. It's, to be honest, I feel bad saying this, but I don't, because it's just true. They have like baby brains, and it's like talking to a baby. Like, how do you get a baby? I know, like, open up, here comes the airplane, and then they eat the applesauce. That's like a boomer. You almost have to like trick them into learning it, because they can't take facts. They're like 60 to 50 to 80-year-olds that act like literal babies. Like they have like the brain and consciousness of a baby. So you can't be like, hey, Trump works for these people, because they'll be like, you're a liberal. But if you're like, you know how you don't like Lindsey Graham, right? Lindsey Graham's bad, but Trump's endorsing him, right? But Trump good, but Lindsey bad. But he's working for them. Oh yeah, Lindsey's working for them. He's a sellout. You have to like make it retarded in order for them to understand, because they can't. I don't know. Anybody under 40 can like get all these concepts I'm talking about. Like Instagram is completely awake, TikTok was awake, X is completely awake, but Facebook boomers, they're like dinosaurs. They don't listen, they don't want to hear anything. You have to like airplane applesauce to them. So, or just wait until, like time goes on, because and I hate to think this way and say this, but it's just the reality. Like they have all the money, they have all the property, they're the core of Trump's fan base, and they're just completely oblivious to the Israel lobby, and they don't want to learn a single new thing. Like they don't want to listen, they don't want to learn. They've already just made up their mind. Like for me, I've learned so much, and I feel like even as I go on, there's always new things that I'm learning in order to, make my arguments even more sound. But to them, it's like they checked out like 20, 30 years ago. Like they haven't wanted to learn a new fact literally ever. So it's like it's nearly impossible to get them to figure this stuff out. But younger people that aren't as stubborn are more like malleable. So they're like, oh, I didn't know that. You know, Someone said, I'm 48 and I'm so annoyed with the realization that my parents are this obtuse. Listen, I love the older generation on a lot of topics, and not every older person's like this. There's a lot of boomers that have been really amazing to me, but the boomers that are amazing, you got to know that it's over 50% of boomers. Like, and it's not just Republican boomers, like Democrat boomers are just like some of the most insufferable goofballs. Like they're like, I watched Rachel Maddow. Why are you watching Rachel Maddow? I was watching CNN. Why are you watching CNN? Like I don't like Jared Kushner, but they don't like Jared Kushner, but they don't even know why. It's like they just listen to like Whoopi Goldberg. So you got Democrat boomers are just an embarrassment to society. You have Republican boomers that their head is so far up Trump's butt that they can't say anything. It's not everybody, but it's got to be over like 70%. Like I would say a minority of boomers actually know this stuff, but I don't know. Like what, and I think another part of it too, like I said, it's not just the stubbornness, it's the age where it's like even just having conversations, I think it's like people that have money and property don't need to change their worldview. You know what I'm saying? Like they're fine. They're fine. They have money. They have property. They have their life. They have their like. They're like, I've accumulated all of this. I don't need to think like you think. I have all this stuff. But it's like if you weren't so selfish, you'd think, well, I have kids and grandkids. What about the world that they're going to grow up in? Shouldn't I learn that for them? Or, when I pass all this stuff on, they're going to have to live in this world that's rotting because of this reason. But I think a lot of them are like, it's too late for me to change my worldview. It's too scary. Like, let me just keep on. Like, if I keep thinking exactly how I think now, they're not going to lose any money. They're not going to lose any property. Like nothing's going to go wrong for them. So it's not worth the shift. Meanwhile, it's like their grandkids, if they actually tell the truth about this stuff, they're not going to be able to make any money. They're not going to be able to get a job. Like that one lady said in that compilation, she said, we're going to go after these people and make sure that if they ever try to get a wife, if they ever try to get a job, if they ever try to do anything in this world, that we're going to make it miserable for them. That's me. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but that person in that organization has come after me and doxed me and done crazy fucking shit to me. That's what they want for me. These evil people that happen to be Jewish, not all Jewish people think this way, but in this case, they are super evil. That's what they want for the Goyim that figure out what they're doing. They want to destroy your life. They want to destroy your finances. They want to destroy your job life. And they want to make it so you can't even get married and reproduce. They're fucking sick. But the boomers don't care. And the boomers that don't even know that this has been happening to me for years, because these sickos have been going after me forever, they don't care. They like the boomers on my Facebook page, they'd rather me die or lose all my money or lose my career more than they want to wake up to the reality that I'm right and realize that Trump isn't even like the real deal. Like these people, and that's why they annoy me. It's like I don't want to blame all boomers, but I'm tired of these old, evil, selfish, nasty people. They're nasty, they're stupid, they're selfish, they're evil. They're completely consumed in their own ignorance. They're completely shameless of their own ignorance. They literally are cattle. You have to talk to them like they're 2 years old, or they don't understand any concept. They have baby brains. That's why they're called baby boomers. They have baby brains. They're 60-year-olds with the brain of a 2-year-old. You have to put it in applesauce and tell them it's an airplane, or else they can't figure it out. It's embarrassing, but it is what it is. Someone said, attention boomer men who don't fear God never change. There's a lot of great boomers out there, but the majority are lost on this topic. So long-winded answer. I apologize. What do you do about it? I mean, all you can do is just do your best, in this world. I think that's what we all can do. But that, think about, not to make it all about myself, but I am the only one speaking here. So does anybody else want to talk? Okay, I guess it's about me then. Anyway, think about me, and there's probably people in here who've known this for 20 years. So it's like, you probably have it even worse than me on this topic. But if you know this and no one cares about it, think about it. Everyone's talking about all this other stuff. Everyone's like, but this is what actually will change stuff. And that, the awareness of this topic, but it isn't there. It's been growing. It's absolutely been growing, but it's like, it needs to just be a little bit higher. And it's getting there. It's definitely getting to the point where people are just not afraid anymore and they don't care. But yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing that's going to change. And that's why for 6 years now, I despise Trump bootlickers more almost than liberals, because they're fake opposition. Democrats destroying themselves, and that's predictable. What's even worse is these Trump gatekeepers that are trying to stop people from talking about this. They're actually worse, because the only solution on our side is what they're trying to prevent, and they get rewarded for preventing it. If I, who knows what would have happened if I would have ever taken any deal, because there's a high chance it wouldn't have worked out. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I could have been rich and famous if I would have sold out when I was 21, because there's a chance I could have signed a deal and they would have shelved me and I would have been broke anyway. So it's not like every music artist becomes famous. 90% of music artists don't even get off the shelf. But when I was younger, I did have offers in the music industry, and it was do this, do that. And every time, it wasn't even crazy, but it was enough for me to be like, I don't want to do it. And then I don't get to go there. In Republican media, as soon as I started talking about the Israeli Jewish anti-Semitism speech laws, they started closing all these doors for me. And I knew this years ago. It's I'm not trying to sit and make people think I'm jealous, because I'm the opposite of a jealous person. I love people that are great. If anyone does something amazing, I like to share it. I've helped so many people in this industry, but I've known for years now, I can't make that money, or at least I can't work there and have those resources. I have to work 20 times harder, because, I won't play ball on this topic. And even in the Trump administration, think about how much money's going around right now. Imagine how much money foreign countries are spending. I mean, Brad Parscale, who's Trump's former campaign manager, he had to register as a foreign agent because he's now working for Israel, and he's getting paid millions of dollars. And he's like, that's fine. It's it's fine to enrich yourself, sure, but to register as a foreign agent, I'm not a foreign agent. I work for America, not Israel or any other country. But, there's a lot of unregistered foreign agents out here too, who are just making a fortune directly or indirectly, where it's you can have all these things, but you can only have these things if you don't talk about certain topics. And this is the thing. I've been in this industry for almost 10 years now. I know all of these people, and some of them I really like. There's a lot of women, some of them attractive, some of them not. But, there's a lot of women in the industry that I know. There's some, there's guys in the industry that I've been friends with. But in general, it's I know these people, and I know the ones that know all this stuff, but they won't talk about it because they know they can't work where they work. If they do, they don't want to risk the money. Even with me, it's any day they could shut off 80% of my income. It sucks, but it's I don't care. I've gone through in my head what could happen or would happen, and I'm just prepared for that. And I've never been the type of person to care. But other people, it's I have no respect for any Republican that I know knows this stuff, but they're let's just talk about Somalia for 3 years. Let's act shocked. Oh, Trump tricked us again. It's I know you know this stuff. I know you're just acting stupid, but the pressure is that real. Look at what Trump did to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's like, hey, I'm getting too many threats. Can you chill? And he's like, shut the fuck up, Marjorie. Dude, Trump is an evil person. He's not a good person. he's nice if you're nice to him, but it's like if you're trying to prioritize the country over him. He even posted about Thomas Massey. He said his wife is a flaming liberal, flamethrower, and Thomas Massey's like, my wife voted for you 3 times. She voted for you 3 times. She's been like a Ron Paul Republican, and then Trump calls her a liberal and says Thomas Massey's not loyal to me. It's not about you, buddy. If you're selling out to foreign donors, it's not about you. It's about the country. Trump is so selfish. Everything revolves around him. He's like a fat son, and all the boomers revolve around him, and they're destroying our country. And then all they could say is, well, what about Biden? He sucks too. They can't like comprehend 2 things at once. They think everything not Trump is a liberal. It's like a baby. The Teletubbies goes to a commercial, a baby starts crying. You talk to, oh, if it's not right, then it's left, right? There's only 2 things in this world. I have binary thinking. I think we went to the moon. We get it. We get it. You had a good childhood. You own everything. You have all the money. You don't care about anyone else. We get it. Good for you. Bad for humanity and your ancestors and your kids. But good for you, though. It's like someone said, thank you for being brave and sharing all these things. Yeah, I mean, no problem. I don't know. I don't know any other way. I can't speak for others because I'm not them, but I wouldn't feel fulfilled. When I got into music, I'll just give like not a story I've told before, I don't think, but I didn't make money for maybe until I was like 26 or something. Like I had label meetings. I turned down multiple offers with a management. Like I'm not going to name everything because I don't want to mislabel it. Like there's a few that I know for sure, but there's one that I'm not sure what building I was in. I remember I had a label meeting and there were a bunch of fedoras on the shelf, and the guy was like, "This is Neo comes here a lot, and those are Neo's fedoras." So I don't know. Whoever Neo worked for, I went to that major label with Jam Master Jay's son. But anyway, I had like 3 big meetings with a manager who wanted to manage me that was connected to the biggest distributor at the time, whatever Neo label that was, I don't know, with all his fedoras, and then also another underground label, but the biggest underground label out there. I had all these meetings, but anyway, like when they were talking to me, they talked to me, and this is like, I'm grateful that this is how I was. Maybe it's how I was raised. Maybe it's my spirit. I'm not really sure, but I never cared about money or women, or like I got women, you know what I'm saying? Like I was cool. I mean, I think if you look at some of my videos, you'll look at me and be like, he did not look that cool. But at the time it was cool. My hair, at the time it felt cool. Now I look back and it looks like the 70s. I'm like you had an afro, like the freaking Bee Gees. And you're like, what was I doing? Those are my old pictures too. I'm like, what was I doing? But at the time I didn't need anything from people. Like I was like, I don't want money. I'm not in it for the fame. I get women already. I don't need your help getting women. So they would always offer these things to me. And that was always their like, we'll do all these, but I'm like, I'm about like the music. Like what can we do that makes sense to me? Like I'm a very soulful artist. So they never were able to woo me. I never made money. Like I was broke working dozens of jobs until I was like 26. I made my first money like on music with some sort of deal I got with an app. But before that, there was no money on YouTube. Like I was actually famous when I was like 19 years old to like 24 for YouTube rapping, but there was no money in it and nobody wanted to sign me because I don't know, I wouldn't do what they wanted. Then I started making money in politics, but I never meant to do it. I just was posting. I actually lost. I remember when Bernie was running against Hillary, and then when the election became Trump and Hillary, I just wanted to talk about it. I actually quit my job. I think I saved up $10,000 and I burned through all of my money. I went from like $10,000 to like $1,000 in my bank account, just posting about politics full time. I thank God because I don't know why I did that, but something told me I'm so passionate about the corruption in government and politics and how they don't even care what we think that I'm willing to just blow through my savings that I barely have in order to speak about this. Like I wanted to like basically be a professional activist for some reason where like it was a really smart decision in hindsight, but at the time it's like, why would you blow? But I just got so consumed with how they were like cheating, in my opinion, against Bernie Sanders. And then when I started liking Trump, I just hated what they were doing to him. I literally quit my job, blew through $10,000, and then I worked at a print shop right across from CNN. I worked on Sunset Boulevard. I worked in a little print shop. I was their social media manager, and across was this massive CNN building. And I'm talking trash to CNN, and I'm literally sitting right there, right across from them, not even joking, directly like parallel. And I was just like kind of doing that while I was working as well. But I didn't make any money, but I never even thought about it. I just was like, I want to do this. And then when I first started making money with videos and posting and stuff, like it wasn't even a thing on Facebook. And then they started paying. And it's been my full-time job since 2019 or 2018. It's been like 6 years now. But I didn't get into this for money. So even like when people talk to me now, I actually made some money. I mean, not as much as I probably should have, but it's whatever. But I don't need anything now. You can't bribe me now that I actually have a little bit of money. If you couldn't bribe me when I had no money, they couldn't bribe me when I was 19 and I had nothing. They couldn't bribe me when I was 22. They couldn't bribe me when I was 25. They certainly can't bribe me now. And then it's like even certain podcasts and media companies that I talk to, I'm not going to say they're bribing me, but it's like I don't like the way any of these people talk to me. It's like this weird humiliation ritual where they're trying to scam you or own you or do certain things. And, like the last deal, I've talked about this like a year ago, but I'm not going to say who because I'm not trying to make it personal right now. But there was a media company that I actually at the time liked. Now, not the biggest fan, but it's whatever. They wanted to bring me onto their platform. Keep in mind, I have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I'm reaching millions of people a day. I have all these platforms. It was 2 years ago or so, or a year ago. I don't even remember now, but they wanted to do some sort of deal. So they would give me like a monthly amount that they would pay me. But then they said they wanted to own 50% of my Facebook page, 50% of my Rumble page, and 50% of my YouTube page, right? And for a certain amount. The deal was fair-ish, it wasn't the greatest numbers I've ever seen, but it was fair-ish. So I said, okay, with the 50, you get 50% of my Facebook income, you get 50% of my YouTube income, you get 50% of my Rumble income, right? Wasn't a terrible deal based on the numbers. And I said, if I leave, what's the end cap on that, right? Like say you get 50% of my Facebook revenue, but you're paying me this much baseline a month, right? Like as like not even a stipend, but it's like a salary or whatever. I was like, if I leave or, 2 years from now or whatever, we break up or whatever, when do I get that back? You know what I'm saying? Like that goes right back to me, right? Then I own 100% of all my pages. And they were like, well, no, we would own 50% of your Facebook page like forever. And I'm not going to get into the numbers, but my Facebook page makes a good amount of money. It's not a small entity. So I was like, no, I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this because you'd basically be buying 50% of my Facebook page. And I was like, based on the numbers I'm getting now, if you're buying 50% of my Facebook page, that's a multi-million-dollar deal because my Facebook page makes good money and you basically own it for the next 30 years of my life. Like that's going to make millions upon millions of dollars over time. I'm not going to make $1 million this year, unfortunately, and even in the next 2 years. But who knows? I don't know. Like maybe things could change. But my Facebook page has significantly made decent money, and they just wanted to basically say we want it forever, but we don't want to buy it. And as soon as I said, well, no, you're basically purchasing half. You're not just taking half while I work with you. Then all of a sudden they're not that interested in the deal. So like my whole life's been a scam. Nobody actually wants to work with me. Everybody's always trying to get one over on me. And that's fine. There's deals to be made. I said no. So I'm not a victim, but it's like, does anybody actually want to work? Does anybody actually want to make great content? Does anybody actually care about anything? It's like everybody's just doing weird stuff all the time. So, now I work by myself and, I've been trying to piece together a team to keep up with all the content, etc. And also like with Patreon, for my Patreon followers, I'm about to shut it down because I'm just not doing that much for it. And I just don't have the inspiration to like post on there every month. So I'm just going to shut it down, think about stuff and try to launch a new subscription model when I actually have something worth subscribing to. But, it's been exhausting, I think, over the last 2 years because it's just like reels, do this, that. Like the other day, I spent hours doing my Epstein video, and then I realized I made a slight error, and then I just took the whole thing down and blew all my momentum on my YouTube channel. But that's okay. Yeah. Someone said, I thought this was kayfabe analysis. We've heard enough about you crashing out about not being in the club. I'm not crashing out, bro. This is not like I want to be in the club. I'm just letting people know. At least for this, like, let's talk about politics and not myself for a second. some people get mad when I talk about what's actually going on. They just want to hear about like surface level things that they want to hear. Like certain people, they don't want to learn anything and they don't want to hear something that counters what they think. They just want to hear somebody who tells them what they want to hear. And most, like if I listen to Tim Pool, I mean, I don't, but like any clip I've said or I have friends that go on it, I listen to Tim Pool and I'm like, who listens to this show? Everybody on there is like retarded or fake. Like they're having the dumbest conversations about literally everything. Like Tim Pool's an idiot. The other guy on his panel's a retard. And it's like they have the most lowest level conversations in the world, yet people like to listen to that. Like, you know, he's like a yeah, God knows how much money the guy makes. And you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not crashing out. I'm just confused. I'm like, why do like who listens to this stuff? And then because people are listening to other retarded stuff, it makes them more retarded, and then they don't understand anything because they're like listening to some other show. So it's like I don't know. I don't get what people really even want anymore, or what is interesting to them. But it is what it is, I guess. Like the last 2 years, I've not really been in a rush. I don't know. I'm in a different place in my life where I'm trying to figure out what I actually even want. Like, do I want, can you even compete with these people? You know, like the way that they move like snakes and stuff. It's like, what's the point? You know, like I'm not going to give up because I still enjoy making videos and stuff. I guess I'm just not forcing it now. If I don't have a concept that I'm excited about, like today, I was excited to go live. If I'm not excited to go live, I don't go live. If I'm not excited to make an Instagram video, I don't make an Instagram video. But if you're trying to do this professionally and compete with multi-million-dollar corporations who are controlling what people think and manufacturing consent, you kind of have to do more. You know, you have to like do more than that. But it is what it is. Tim Pool is too cool for school. Dude, I would love to debate Tim Pool because the way he talks to other people, I would never allow him to talk to me that way. Like, you're not smarter than me. You're not interesting. You're a little douchebag. Like, he talks condescendingly to everybody. And for some reason, everybody just lets him do it. Obviously, his staff lets him do it because they need his money and his job. But like other people, I just don't understand it. I was like, I would love to go on the show. Not anymore because I just don't even want to like go there. But I would love maybe one day Tim owes me a favor because he kind of sabotaged my last his little beanie bunker gremlin squad of little demons. They messed up our last little time. So he kind of owes me a favor. Maybe I'll ask Tim to just do like a conversation via like Zoom or not Zoom, whatever this is called. That might be the play because I really want to like talk to Tim and just see if he talks to me. My buddy went on there and like Tim is like and like he just says the dumbest stuff and like yells over you and he's like, you're so stupid, you're the dumb. It's like, is Tim really that dumb or is that his role? Is he just like he's a gatekeeper? Not a gatekeeper. What a gatekeeper is for people that are not gremlins. What's like the thing, the bridge? Like, isn't there like a troll under a bridge? He's not a gatekeeper. He's a troll bridge, a bridge troll. Tim's a bridge troll where you walk over the bridge and he goes, who's up there? It's me, Tim. I'm just trying to go for a jog. I thought this was like a public park. No, this is my bridge. This is I don't see your name on it, Tim. This is a public space. It's my bridge for a private meeting with Netanyahu. We've booked this bridge. Booked it with who? It's a public park. With the government. You can't walk there. This is my bridge. All right, bridge troll, relax. You can have your private meeting with Netanyahu. Okay, I'll jog the other way. That's what I thought. I booked this bridge. I booked it. I got lawyers. I'll sue you for walking over my bridge with Netanyahu. All right, bro. Relax, Tim. Dude. It's like Timcast with Gremlin number 1. It must be China. Gremlin number 2. Must be Russia. And Gremlin number 3. It's definitely not Israel. That would be anti-Semitic. Welcome to the Bridge Troll Show with Tim Pool. And 3 people who are even less impressive than him because Tim likes to surround himself by less impressive people who he has leverage over because anybody actually worth listening to would not want to put up with what a demon he is. He's like, let's talk about how China controls the government. Yeah, it's definitely not Israel for sure. What's up with all those anti-Semites, bruh? Can't stand that. That's my bridge troll, Tim Pool impression. It must be the individuals. Yeah, it is individuals who work together as a group, but it's not everyone. It's just like, it's just some people. But they definitely have certain things in common. Someone said, and the kid can't read or do math facts. I don't care how good Tim is at math. This is my bridge. This is my bridge for my Netanyahu meeting. How dare you leak my private meeting? It was supposed to be a journalistic meeting where all the journalists suck up to foreign leaders. Dude, this bridge troll is really angry, and he's got a beanie. He wears the same beanie every day. He's like Charlie Brown. Tim wakes up in the morning. Tim wakes up in the morning under his bridge, and he's like, should be a good day to be a bridge troll. He's like, let's see what to wear. And he goes into his like closet, and it's like the same shirt and the same beanie. He's like, am I feeling a little crazy today? Will I do a dark black beanie, or will I do a black beanie? Or should I do a black beanie with my black shirt and my black beanie? he's like, you know what? I'm feeling crazy. He's like, let me put on a beanie today. And they're like, hey, Tim, you wear that beanie every day. No, that's the other black beanie. This is the other one. It's not the same one. It's a different beanie. Why do you think I dress the same every day? You do dress the same. They're different shirts. All right, dude. It's a different beanie. Whatever, man. It just everything looks the same. You're like a broken character in an N64 game that has one outfit, There's like no modification. It's like, guess he's just going to wear that for the rest of his life now. Is he going to get married in a beanie? He goes to the White House in a beanie? He wears a suit with a beanie? Like, you're just always going to wear the beanie forever. You're going to be 70 years old riding a skateboard with a beanie on. All right, bro. It's your bridge, dude. I don't want it anyway. Tim keeps getting invited to Fox News. Bro, Tim is Fox News for people that think Fox News isn't real news. That's the perfect way to put Tim. He's Fox News for people who think they're smarter than Fox News. Like, dude, I don't watch Fox News anymore. I watch Tim Pool. It's like, dude, it's the same conversation, just with uglier people. Like Fox News, they put like better looking people on there because, I think that's what happened to boomers. Boomers are just like, it's like, here's Laura Ingraham. Boomers are like, ooh, Laura, ooh, woo. And then they're like Sean Hannity, and boomer women are like, ooh, Sean, ooh. They just put like empty-minded, soulless people in suits, and they're like, ooh, you remind me of Audrey Hepburn. Like, all right, lady. And then like with Tim Pool, they just made him like super ugly, and then they just like threw him on YouTube, and they're like, we're the rebels. We're the rebel trolls who do the same thing as Fox News. We're just weirder looking, and anyway, that was mean. It was mean that I didn't say more because it was funny. It's okay. Someone said Tim Pool crashed out when some troll took the beanie off him. I mean, obviously, one, that's a mean thing to do, but also he wears it every day. Like, he never not wears it. Of course he's going to crash out. Like, clearly he wants to wear it all the time. I get it. Like, it definitely is a vibe. Like, if I were suggesting things, I would try maybe a God is great, dad cap might look good on him. So we got the God is great. We got the God bless. Maybe he could try like a baseball hat or a dad hat. These ones are more, I've had different versions. Like, some people like the bigger ones, some people like the smaller ones. This one is more of like a tennis and a dad hat. That's how I describe it. So like, I've had God bless hats before that are more like fitted baseball hats that are like super big. And then I've had ones in the past also that are smaller, like tennis dad hats. The new ones are like tennis dad hats, but I don't know. I like both of them for different occasions. Someone said the boomers didn't sign the Federal Reserve Act. Yeah, that was I don't know what generation that was. That was in 1913. if anybody ever plays trivia, these are two good things to know. 1913 is when the Federal Reserve was created. 1912 was when the Titanic sunk. They asked that in trivia a lot. And I know that because there's a conspiracy theory that they sunk people who were opposed to the Federal Reserve on the Titanic. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what people think. So, like, I've got that question at trivia before. They're like, when was the Titanic sunk? Pick me 1912. Final answer. Nailed it. Nailed it. I won. No. Tim removed his beanie for Matan. Dude, what's up with that Matan guy? He's like an interesting character. I don't know what, like, I don't watch his show, but he's got like a very trolly. He like out trolled the troll. I don't know. He's always trolling. It's almost like too much troll. You know, like I can't watch the show because it's like too much trolling. It's like the whole thing is like a joke. It's like Eric Andre show or something. So I see clips sometimes on Twitter, but send him a God bless beanie. Bro, I was supposed to be on his podcast. I was flying to his little gremlin beanie bunker under the troll hill, and I had a God bless hat. I was going to give him one on the show. I was going to be like, here's a God bless beanie. I was on a plane. The plane landed. I had the beanie. This was all going to happen. But then his little like gremlin, assistant, who just so happens to be we can't say, was like, oh, you're too late. I was like, how am I too late? Like, I could make it on time. They're like, well, Tim has certain protocol. You need to land early and be an hour early for the warm-ups. And I'm like, it's not that important. And I was like, also, you picked my flight. I didn't pick this time. If I don't show up, like, I don't cut things out, like I like fly a day before. You picked the flight. It got rain delayed for like an hour. I landed on time, and now you did, like, what if it didn't get delayed? I would have barely been able to make it too. They literally sabotaged my entire show there, and they're like, treat it like a layover. It's not a layover. Why would I treat it like a layover? It's like, treat it like a vacation. I'm not here for a vacation, you stupid radio edit. Someone said it's still crying about this. No, it's just funny. We were just roasting Tim. It's just funny. More like Andy Milonakis. I like Andy Milonakis. Actually, this is a fun fact. Andy Milonakis was one of the first celebrities that like reached out to me, or at least answered me. I liked Andy Milonakis when I was like 19 and I was rapping on YouTube, and I messaged Andy Milonakis and he responded. And then there was this cipher I did on YouTube where like a rapper would call out a rapper and then he'd make a video. Then that rapper would call out another rapper and he'd make a video. And, I got called out in some cipher by some guy named Timothy De La Ghetto or Traffic. He's like a big Asian Thai YouTuber. And he called me out. And then I rapped and I called out Andy Milonakis, and Andy Milonakis like rapped. Like I called him out in a cipher. So, Andy Milonakis was one of the first celebrities that was cool with me. So when I was like 19. So I like Andy Milonakis. I don't know what he's doing now, but I still, you got to have love for people that showed you love when no one did. He was one of the first, for sure. Someone said, Adrian on Facebook said, you stand with the Israel or some shit. Are you bought out? Run that back, but this time in English, and then I'll answer. You scared to talk about? I don't know what you're saying. Are you saying I'm sold out if I do or don't? Like what's your opinion? I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you pro-Israel? Are you a critic of Israel? It's not really clear. Are you saying if you don't stand with Israel, you are a sellout? Is that what you're trying to say? I stand with America. Like, I don't stand with foreign nations. I don't sit with foreign nations. I don't dance with, I'll dance with any nation. I don't care. Dancing's cool, but I don't think American politicians should be standing with a foreign nation. Someone said, talk about the files, get people angry. Are you all right, bro? It's 2 hours and 43 minutes into the live stream. I talked about the files for a long time. You're coming at the end of a live stream, like demanding that we do what you want. I've been here for almost 3 hours. You can rewind and watch that sort of stuff, and then see what you think. I think you're getting a little flustered over nothing, bro. You can't come. God bless you, my guy, but you can't come into a 3-hour live stream and be like, I just got here. Talk about what you talked about for 2 hours right now because I'm here. I don't have to do that. That's not going to happen. So once again, just rewind, and you could watch all about the files. And then you let me know, my guy, if you think it was a good enough show or not. But anyway, appreciate you. All right, we're getting back to having fun now. That's what we do at the end of the shows. This is my favorite part, though. I like to just let loose a little bit. Someone said 1947 and 1948 terrorist group kill innocents. Then those terrorist groups formed into an army called Israel and the IDF. I don't know the exact dates, but I do know that mainstream history does say that they were doing terrorism, but you're not allowed to say that, but it's what they say. Thanks for speaking freely. Thanks, Max. We appreciate you. Thank you, MRG, for freedom. Can I give a eulogy to Scott Adams? Sure. Scott blocked me. I mean, not that this is not the best eulogy, but I'm just being honest. This is all I know about Scott. Scott, not all I know, but Scott blocked me on X. We were definitely having some disagreements during the COVID era. And, he talked about me a few times on his podcast. And one thing I will say, out of anybody that's ever got mad at me, I always liked Scott Adams, even when he got mad at me. He talked about me a few times on the podcast, and I thought it was hilarious. And I also thought it was harmless. I just wanted to have a conversation with Scott. Even though he was this guy's dumb or whatever he was saying, he said I was an idiot. But he was a very charming, calm guy. So it never flustered me. I always was just I thought it was funny. And then as things came on and progressed, I feel like Scott became super, self-aware about all that stuff and admitted that people were right. I thought that was really cool. He said that white people don't live around black people, and the media freaked out. I thought that was hilarious. And then the big meme with the big mug. Obviously, Dilbert's legendary. I think he played a role, Matt Gaetz said, in this whole Israel consulate scandal around Matt Gaetz. Apparently Scott Adams played a role in that. And I think also, Scott Adams towards the end of at some point, I did hear him kind of talk about the Israel lobby a lot. And he seemed like he was on the side of America, not the foreign lobby. So, I mean, I think Scott did well for himself, probably had an amazing life. Dilbert was a huge success. So you got to think for Scott, as someone who didn't really know him that well, I only knew him from politics, to be a cartoonist, to be one of the most famous cartoonists in the world, to making millions upon tens of millions of dollars, he probably lived an amazing life. Not that money's everything, but that's got to be fulfilling for a cartoonist to make it. How could you possibly make it more than Scott Adams did? Then he became a figure in politics. He became very well loved. And yeah, I mean, I definitely think that he was always seeking truth, I think even when I thought he was wrong and he admitted he was wrong, I don't think he was doing it to be nefarious. Even with the vaccine, I think he took the vaccine because he had a really hot girlfriend who wanted to travel. And then he was trying to justify his own decisions. But all of it was harmless. I don't think anybody took it that seriously or was listening to him for advice anyway. So I feel like rest in peace, Scott. I don't know. He made it as a cartoonist. I mean, how could you possibly fulfill your life more than being a cartoonist who becomes a top 5 all-time cartoon? I mean, that's a dream come true. I'm sure he lived a great life. He had a really, really hot wife for a long time. Have you seen his ex-wife? 10. Let's just put it that way. 10 out of 10. Not the type of 10s that some of the people in the Epstein emails liked. I'm talking 10 out of 10. But yeah, rest in peace to Scott. We didn't always get along. He blocked me. He definitely did not like me. But that's okay. I think in a different reality, we would have been really good friends, but not in this one. I wanted to talk to him. He called me an idiot. He said I was stupid or something, but I don't know. I never took it that seriously. Out of everyone who's ever beefed with me or whatever, I thought that was the tamest and funniest one of all time. So RIP. Sorry, I don't know if that was a good eulogy or not, but that's just all I know. I'm not that close to him. Someone said who was on with him on his deathbed, his actual old and wrinkly wife. Well, I don't know like all about his marriages and stuff, but I do I'm sure like, your original wife will probably love you more than your hot young or like whoever his second wife was. But I don't know. That's not for me to decide right now. It's not the right time to talk about this. Someone said he said you have evil eyes. Did he say that? I don't know. I didn't listen to his show. I do know he said that he was like too smart to debate me or something. I don't remember. It was funny though. I'm not gonna play the clip now. It's not like it's on my Twitter somewhere, but I'm not gonna find it. Uh, you were his first ex-wife? I don't believe you because your name is Mad Cow Music on YouTube, and maybe that's true, but I feel like I don't think Scott Adams' first ex-wife would have an account that's called Mad Cow Music, but maybe I'm wrong. They were still besties in the end. All right. I don't know if you're telling me the truth anyway, so let's move on. Whoever you leave the money to will love you more. It's definitely, yeah. I mean, I hear you. Leaving money, it's an interesting topic, but what his real wife? I don't. I'm not. I don't want to talk about Scott Adams' wife anymore. I don't know that much about it. I just know for a while he had like a really hot wife. I may or may not have followed her on X. I can't remember, but let's just say I didn't. I haven't seen her in my feed in a while, so maybe I never did. I don't know. It's not important. It's actually not even appropriate. So let's just stop. Someone said that's his karma. I mean, dude, rest in peace, Scott. Let's not dunk on him right now. It's not the right time. Someone said he said you're an idiot, but you're alive. Yeah, I mean, also he's a lot older than me, so I'm not going over this. Like, I'm not even just saying this because he's dead. I'm just being transparent. Out of anyone that's ever got mad at me, I was loving Scott's. Like, I didn't even listen to his podcast, but when he talked about me, I thought it was hilarious. Like, the way he talked about me was so funny. I'm not just saying that now. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Like, I thought it was hilarious, and I would just really wanted to talk to him because I thought it would have been a funny conversation. Because I was like, listen, Scott, if me and Scott would have talked, I would have went like this, Scott. I like you. I think you're super calm. You got good energy. Like, I'm not. The way he talked about me was so funny. He was like, Anomaly says either I'm purposely lying, I'm low IQ, or like he would. It was hilarious. Um, Someone said on his deathbed that he like said he was Christian, but like as a calculated thing. Like I read that somewhere. Like one of his close friends was like, Scott said on his deathbed that he said he was Christian, but not because he like really believed, but because it was like a calculated decision to try to get into heaven or something like that. And I was like, that's the most Scott Adams thing ever. It's like you can't even just give your life to the Lord for 1 second. You have to be like, let's calculate a decision. It's like, come on, bro. R.I.P. Scott, though. That's the most Scott Adams way to go out for sure. Someone said he was trolling because Christians would stop bugging him. I don't know. Someone said the files talk about Jared Kushner and his connections to Russia. But who does Jared Kushner represent? Like, you know what I'm saying? I got to see if he's actually, I'll look it up right now, but it's like, I'm not saying Russia's not in it. Like, obviously Russia's in it, but like, who does Epstein and Jared Kushner represent? Who do the Rothschilds represent? Just because they're talking to Russia doesn't mean they represent Russia. Jared Kushner now talks about Russia. I mean, Jared Kushner now does trips to Russia to talk to Russians on behalf of Trump. You get what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I'm not denying that Russia's involved in any sort of way in the files. It's one of the biggest countries in the world. But if you want to know the truth and figure out what's going on, who is everyone working for? What is their baseline? And at the end of the day, you can't serve two masters. So if you're representing two countries, if this country is where your money is, but another country is where your people are, which country do you think you're going to care about more? And here's the real question. Because like, let's just say hypothetically, right? Because there's a lot of people like this, right? They like Israel and they like America, right? They're Americans, but they're Jewish and Israeli. They have a dual passport and they like both countries. If you could get them behind closed doors and ask them, which country, we know you like both countries, but which country do you really like more? How many of them do you think would say, well, the America, because that's where I'm born and raised? And how many of them do you think would say, well, Israel, because that's my homeland, that's my holy land, that's where I want to be one day, that's where I want my kids to grow up, that's my ethnic group, that's my religion, I like Israel? How many of them would prefer Israel over America, right? That's a question you can ask yourself. I'm not going to answer it because, you can decide for yourself. Who knows? And then here's another question that you need to ask yourself on top of that. That question is assuming and this is not to Jared Kushner, because I don't, just take anybody that is Israeli and American that does business in both countries and likes both countries to some extent, right? Now here's another question. Do they even like America at all? Do they even like Europeans at all? Do they even like Christians at all? How are Christians treated in certain parts of Israel? I'm not saying that's relative to everything, because you can go to the ghetto in America and get robbed. That doesn't mean every American hates you. But if people are being spit on, and not Andrew, Brandon Tatum's like, oh, only one pastor got spit on my trip. That's kind of crazy. Like, would that ever happen at a church, that their religion would be spit on by a kid? Probably never. But that happens so frequently in Israel. So you have to ask yourself, who's teaching the kids this stuff? So that's my issue is beyond just, oh, you have dual loyalty or more loyalty to another country. Obviously, that's going to be problematic if you're supposed to represent our country, but you're really representing their country. But that's the best case scenario, is we care about both countries. We want both countries to succeed. I think a lot of people are like that. I don't think every person that has dual citizenship hates America, but I've listened to enough videos, evidence, world leaders. I listen to them talk. I watch their stuff. And a lot of them, it's not just that they have dual loyalty, like I like America and I like this country, and I'm going to help both of them. They have total loyalty to the one country, and they have like an 1,000, 2,000 year grudge against Christians and Europeans. So it's not even like they're trying to help both. And if push comes to shove, they'll help Israel more than America. That's what I hope it is. And that's what I hope these people are feeling. Because I've listened to enough other people where they don't want necessarily like Europeans to succeed, because they view it as this holy war that people don't even understand. I played a clip a bunch of times. I've heard, I could name two people that I know for sure said it: Rabbi Barclay to Candace Owens and Alan Dershowitz when Trump signed the anti-Semitism speech laws. But both of them used 2,000 years to describe anti-Semitism 2,000 years ago. And if you listen more to certain leaders, they explain what they mean by 2,000 years ago. They say when Jesus died or was killed, not just died randomly, he was murdered. Can't say who did it though, but when Jesus was killed, the funny part, I mean, it's not funny, but like the funny part is it's like the same people that like will in one breath be like, yeah, we don't like him, we hate him, he's boiling in excrement for eternity. There's videos of rabbis saying that because it's in the Talmud, by the way. But anyway, it's like the same people will say that, then we'll turn around and act like we didn't do it, but we would do it. But he's boiling in hot crap for eternity, but we hate him. But we didn't do it, but we didn't want to do it. It was them, but what we did, okay, whatever. I'm not trying to have a conversation about it, but anyway, they talk about when they pass these anti-Semitism hate speech laws, they talk about thousands of years ago, the original Christians, the original followers of Christ, were trying to convert Jews to Christianity. And that's when anti-Semitism was created. So you have to understand, when they're pushing these anti-Semitism hate speech laws, not everybody, but definitely the people at the top levels pushing them, they're not saying, oh, we're pushing this for people who are really hateful and the Muslims and blah, blah. They're thinking the times of Jesus and the followers of Jesus, and how for thousands of years they were trying to convert them to their religion. And now they're pushing their religion onto you. And their religion is, has a book that says your Lord and Savior is boiling in hot shit for essentially being a traitor to them. They think Jesus was a traitor because Jesus was a Jew, and they felt like Jesus was giving the Gentiles something that they didn't want him to give them. So it's like the whole thing, not to all, but to some, revolves around that, where it's like Jesus is your favorite person in history. Them, Jesus is their least favorite person in history. You, Jesus is your Lord and Savior. Them, Jesus is boiling in hot shit for eternity. You think you're fighting anti-Semitism with them. Them, they know they're fighting you with the anti-Semitism hate speech laws, because the original anti-Semites were the original Christ followers in their own words. I'm not making this stuff up. I just pay attention to it. So, when it comes to what's going on in this country, you have to ask yourself the question, because it's not like a universal code that everyone follows. There's some people that feel their religion leads them in a certain way, and they're in certain, tribes and groups. And then there's a bunch of people who don't feel this way, who practice the same religion, but at the high levels, they absolutely are in many ways thinking this way. Pass speech laws to shut the Christians up, pass speech laws to shut the Goyim up, pass speech laws to stop people from talking about the power that we have. And, Europe has this coming to them because they tried us once and they're not going to do it again, because we'll destroy them before they destroy us. Sorry, that's what they're doing. So when you look around Europe and you're like, wow, it's getting destroyed. Wow, America's getting destroyed. Duh. It's because you think your best friends are people that hate you. It's like, that's why it's happening. It's not the only reason it's happening. It's definitely the cowardice and the weakness of our leaders and the patheticness of our leaders. That's why Trump is like one of the most humiliating sellouts in history. It's like he's not doing any, he's doing a few things, but this is just the reality of the situation. It's not random that this is all happening. Look at the wars, right? We go fight wars for them. The media controlled by, I have no idea, pushing wars for, I have no idea. We go overseas and we do all these weird regime changes that do absolutely nothing in our best interest. And then there's a bunch of refugees. And then the other side of the hand sends all the refugees to America and Europe. They did it purposely. Neocons are the Bolsheviks. Neocons are the fake opposition right-wing Bolsheviks. It's like, oh, the Bolsheviks are left-wing. Sort of. But in order to control both sides, they're not going to act left-wing to right-wingers. So it's like, the neocons are the right-wing fake opposition Bolsheviks. And that includes everybody that Trump hires and works for. They're all, now they don't like mass immigration. Now they're like, the new people are like, oh, this is really bad. Like, we got to reverse this. And in some cases, I think there's a lot of people in Trump's administration that actually probably do want to reverse it. And like, say like Stephen Miller, like, I'm sure he loves Israel and favors Israel, but I don't think he's lying about wanting to do mass immigration. I think he probably really wants to. I think he probably would like to reverse course in America, but also, he probably loves Israel too. But in general, I think the original architects of all these things, there's a reason that they all came to America and Canada. There's a reason that they came to Europe. This wasn't random. The European leaders are puppets too. They play this little game. They do these little wars, and then they use liberalism to weaken a nation into wanting it. And you could even find some of that stuff in the files. I think they were talking about like LGBT or transgenderism, so I don't want to fully talk about it unless I have the file in front of me to be accurate. But it's like, I don't judge people based on like, how they feel politically. Like, I don't think you're a bad person if you're a liberal. I think in some ways you're wrong. In some ways you're probably right about some things, but I try to be as compassionate as I can. Like, I don't hate people for disagreeing with me. But what I will say is that the modern stem of liberalism, or just what we consider liberalism now, is a self-imploding trick. Like, if you want to take over a country, look at all the countries they're trying to take over. It's like, if Iran were more liberal, it would be easier to conquer. It would overthrow itself. If Russia were more liberal, it would be easy to overthrow itself. Liberalism is a tool of destruction when it's overpushed. Too much feminism, too much sexuality, too much liberalism. It destroys a nation in so many ways. It makes them weaker. It makes them open season for refugees and illegal immigrants. And then also it creates a disconnect between the man and the woman in the biblical and the righteous way. And then people don't have kids. And I'm not blaming people and saying that I'm so righteous and you're so bad. It's just the reality. It's like, when we grow up in this world, if I lived in 1940, I probably would have 3 kids by now. And there's some people that do anyway, but I didn't even think about it. I grew up in this wicked world and I didn't even think about this sort of stuff until I was like 30, 32. And then there's some chicks that don't think about it till they're like 40, and because they were told to have a career and they were told to go to work and they were told that they didn't want this. I've talked to multiple chicks in the last last year, right? Just having conversations and stuff where I heard it from two different women that I was hanging out with where, excuse me, they were in their 30s and they both kind of talked about a guy in their past that they almost married. They both of them had like, I don't know if they were engaged, I can't remember, right? But they were almost married, maybe in their 20s or whatever. And I was, both of them kind of like regretted it. They were like, I said no. One of them said I should have probably just married that guy. Like it was perfect, but I don't know what I wanted. And now, they're a career woman or whatever. And it's like, but they were like in their 30s now, and they're like, I probably should. The one was like, I probably should have married him. And it's like, well, this is clearly not going well if you're talking about some other dude, but whatever. And then another one had the same sort of thing where it was like this struggle of like, I kind of wish I would have married him. I think he made some good points, but I'm glad I did what I did. And it's like, it is what it is, but it's like modern society tells women to like not get married early, to go, to have a career, to make your own money, to do all that other stuff. And then once you hit your 30s and you're alone, you start questioning that. You're like, would I be happy with a house, a wife, and a kids with no job than I would have been, with a business suit on? And it's like, that's the world we live in, but that's liberalism and that's feminism. All feminism is not like, oh, there's a tranny beating up my daughter in volleyball. That's like 20th wave LGBT. That's not like all feminism. Like, all, in my opinion, and this might be not, I know this is not popular among most Republicans. Like most Republicans, in my opinion, are liberals, which is hilarious when they call me a liberal, because I'm like, you're a liberal to me. I think most Republican women are like feminists, but they're like, no, I'm not a feminist. Well, you're not a fifth wave feminist, but you're like a first wave or second wave feminist. Like you don't want to do this, this, and this, but you want to do this, this, and this. Okay. But the reality is for thousands of years, and you could disagree with this because I understand there's other perspectives, but the reason this all works, like the reason we even exist, the reason we're alive, the reason we have ancestors, the reason there's nations, the reason there's races, the reason all this exists is because for thousands of years they didn't think this way. If our ancestors in the thousands or the 1200s thought the way we're thinking now, we wouldn't exist. We would have gone extinct and got conquered decades ago. So it's like it's this selfish thing where men and women nowadays, they want to think, well, I wouldn't want to do it that way. That's like too far. You wouldn't exist if that didn't happen. I wouldn't exist. I get why you don't want to do it, but it's kind of selfish. And it's like, now that everybody wants to do their own thing, birth rates are plummeting, and then they're replacing us with other people that are actually having babies. And then in 100 years, this country is going to look like the people that they replaced us with that had babies, not us. That's just the reality of math and science and all this stuff. So it's like this short-term gain of like, I want to do all these things because that's how I want to do it. And I'm not asking anyone to regret. Someone said live life with no regrets. 100%. I'm not sitting here feeling bad for myself, but I'm also not lying about the reality of it, where it's like, God gave us all this life to do exactly what we're doing. And, everything happens as it should. But, I'm not going to sit and say like in an alternate reality that everyone should do what I'm doing. It's like, really, no, it would be smarter if people, but, at the same time, we're born at this time. There's no sense in taking too much stake into like thinking about what ifs, because they're, it's like you don't want to be like, what if this, what if, no, we all are where we are, so we got to just do the best of it. But I just want to say, like, in general, like liberalism and feminism, first, second, third, fourth, all waves of it, and the LGBT stuff, it's all population control. It's like, if you're gay, you're not having kids. If you're lesbian, you're not having kids. If you're a feminist, you're not having kids. If you're a working class woman, or not working class, but like a working woman who doesn't want to get married, you're not having kids. If you're liberal, you're going to want to open the border to replace you with the kids you're not having with other people. These are all of these things are like destroying populations. And this is what I'm saying about Iran and Russia and even Venezuela to some extent. It's like, you have to understand the people that are destroying our nation, that are destroying Canada purposely, that are destroying most of Europe purposely, that are destroying Russia purposely. they want to destroy Iran and they want to destroy Russia with more liberalism, not to help the women there so they could take control, overthrow the leader, and do what they're doing to the rest of the world and depopulate them to some extent. So, my role, and I say this with every nation in mind, I don't feel comfortable exporting evil to anybody, not even my own worst enemy. I don't even have an enemy. I don't look at any group like, oh my gosh, like this and that. Like, it all is what it is. I'm just going to speak freely about it. I'm going to wish people well, and I'm going to pray for them to do the right thing. But it's like, even if I didn't like a certain country, I wouldn't want to like do you know how evil it is? Say Iran is like my worst enemy because I'm Mark Levin, right? There's over 90 million people there. Why do I want to bring feminism and liberalism to them? Like, it's not even working here. It's depopulating our country. It's literally propaganda to destroy a nation. It's like Yuri Bezmenov level Bolshevik infiltration. Too much feminism, too much liberalism, too much homosexuality, too much pornography, too much, Western degeneracy. And then your nation's not going to exist in 100 years. It's like literally like genocide wiping stuff, and they're doing it like they know they're doing it. It's just we don't know that. We're like, oh, but this and that. It's like, why would I want to do that to anybody? I don't. And you could when you don't have hate in your heart, and I'm talking, and this is tough for a lot of people because there's a lot of people that have hate in their heart. They say, well, I don't hate Israel, but I hate Palestine, or I don't hate them, but I hate them. You shouldn't hate anybody. You should just think about things and be honest about it. But in my opinion, when you hate too much, that's when you can fall into some sort of trap. Like, for example, I'm not a fan of China or Russia, but I don't hate Chinese people. I don't hate Russians. I don't hate Palestinians. I don't hate Israelis. I don't hate Iranians. I don't hate Iraqis. I've met amazing people from everywhere, and there are great people. That's why a lot of leftists fall for the propaganda, because if you walk around, there are amazing Venezuelans here. There's really great people from all over the world, and we're all just doing the best we can. So it's not like that person's fault for coming here. It's just the reality of what we're dealing with. Like, there are good people everywhere. But when you hate too much and you believe what you're hearing on the news, then you're easy to control. Like, there's so many people that like hate China. It's like, why? Who cares? Like, what are they doing that you hate them so much? Like, what is why are you, oh, but we need to do this to them. Why? Why do you think we need to beat up China? Who told you that? Is it the news that's controlled by these people that don't like when nations stay together? I'm not saying necessarily this is everybody involved, but there's one group and one nation I could think of that wants to be ethnically homogenous, but they want to destroy any other ethnically homogenous population around the world because they want to control them. So if this group can be ethnically homogenous, but they're trying to brainwash everybody into fighting China and Russia, I've told people this for years, and this has nothing to do with justifying what they do in China and Russia, because that's on them. I'm sure it's an imperfect system like all, but the reason our media and our government and the people who control our government and media, the reason they hate China and Russia so much, the reason you could find a right winger and a left winger, the reason you could find Open Society Foundation complaining about it and George Soros on the left, and the right wingers, the right wing Zionists who say they're fighting China and Russia all the time and Iran. China is an ethnically homogenous powerhouse and they're a nation that is going to exist in 1,000 years. They understand their heritage. They understand their culture. And Xi Jinping is not going to let these Western degenerates just destroy his entire bloodline. He's going to make sure that his bloodline exists in 1,000 years. Most of your bloodlines will not exist in 1,000 years, but China will. And Russia, even though it's a little bit more diverse as far as like the population they have there, it's also very ethnically homogenous. Russians will exist in 1,000 years when most of your races won't exist. So it's like, that's the reality of why the Zionist press and the fake opposition left wing, it's two sides of the same Bolshevik coin. They're trying to find any group that is resisting them, pump them with liberalism, pump them with propaganda, and overthrow their leader to flood them with migrants or some sort of weird stuff that ensures that they won't exist. Like, it's super evil. So, it's happening to Europe. It's happening to Canada. It's happening to Australia. It's happening to America. China's not allowing it. Russia's not allowing it. Poland's kind of not allowing it, but the new leader, Tusk or whatever his name is a total plant. So he's probably going to destroy Poland. Hungary does a good job. They're like one of the only people in our alliance that's not totally cucked. but everyone else is like totally screwed, you know? Poland, sort of. Russia, I mean, you know, like Hungary's doing good. Everybody's mad at what's their name? Who works with Russia? Belarus. Is it Belarus? Yeah, Belarus. And if you look at, you know, I'm just going to use the word genocide. I don't really care, but I do care. But I think they're trying to genocide Russians and Belarusians, like not just literally, but like culturally. Because if you watch the Olympics, it's like you can't see their flag. You watch tennis. There's a bunch of great Russian tennis players, and even I think there might be one Belarusian, but they won't show their flags, and they make up some bullshit excuse like, oh, it's the war in Ukraine. Oh, they cheated. But like they always have some sort of excuse. No, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to steal their country and genocide their people. So since they can't literally genocide their people in real world, they're trying to genocide their people in sports and the press where they don't exist. Like you see a Russian player, where's their flag? What's her identity? They won't say on the television. They won't like you watch the Olympics, their flag's gone. This is how evil the international community is, and the people that we work with. Like, we're not the good guys. You know what I'm saying? We can be the good guys because we have the First Amendment to be honest in America, and there's a lot of great people in America. But the people that our leaders are representing, we're not the good guys in this story. Like, we're running around the world, screwing up every country purposely for people that literally hate you, that are trying to destroy you. And any country that they can't actually genocide like they're doing in Palestine, then they try to culturally and media genocide, where it's like you can't talk about them, you can't support them, they shut down all their media, you can't show their flag. They're trying to normalize them not existing, so then when they actually try to go after them like they did Palestine, they don't exist in the real world. And what they did in Palestine, whether you like them or not, I don't really give a shit what people think about Palestinians. I don't, not saying I don't care, but it's not like my number one passion in life. But if you do the research, Theodore Herzl talked about Palestine. Palestine was in the encyclopedia. Everyone knew what Palestine was. It was mentioned 1,000 times when they were taking the land. Hey, we want to go to Palestine, 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 Palestine. They take there. They slowly just start going after the people. Then they just do a complete genocide. And then they're like, there is no Palestine. It never existed at all. You think that's the only place they want to do that to? They're priming people to do that in other places too. It's like, you knew what it was when it was in the Balfour Declaration. You knew what it was when Theodore Herzl was writing about it. You knew what it was for 70 years. And then they slowly just lie. And then they're taking a little bit more land. And then Dennis Prager comes out and he's like, we're just trying to exist. We're just trying to exist. We just want to exist. And they're slowly expanding, slowly expanding, slowly expanding. You know, then a massive tragedy happens. The excuse to just completely wipe them off the map happens. And then they wipe them off the map and are like, you know what? They never even existed in the first place. There never even was a country there. It's like, there kind of was, though, you know? Like, would that have happened in Argentina? They were trying to go to Argentina or Palestine. Would that have happened in Argentina? Would they have just taken over the entire country and been like, you know, Argentina never even existed anyway? Like, it's not even a country. Never existed. It was always ours. No. But I believe in the Theodore Herzl, like, strategy, I don't know if it came from him or people after it, but those were the two places that they wanted to, you know, basically make a state, either Argentina or in Israel or Palestine. And they knew in Palestine at some point, the strategists knew if they take the land in Palestine, it would be a lot easier to get Christian support, because then they could, you know, be like, oh, it's this biblical story. So that's like a huge part of what made it work, because I don't know that any Christian would think, oh, that's the Israel of the Bible in Argentina. So I think it was like pretty smart to take the land in Palestine, to be honest, because I don't know that would have worked so well in Zionist churches. If they told them it was like in South America, they would have been like, what? That's not the Israel of the Bible, you know, in South America. I don't think that's the same one. But someone said America was founded on Freemasonry. I mean, it based on the architecture and like the stuff we have, it does seem pretty true. I think George Washington was a Freemason. I was on a plane recently and I was looking at like monuments, like in every, you know, like place. It was like a Southwest flight or something. And it like, if you went to the city, it gave you like a top 15 things to do in the city. And I did these, like I did all the American cities because I was bored. I just wanted to like learn about stuff. And in DC, it said that there's like some sort of Freemasonry museum of George Washington or something. Like, I never even heard of that, but if I went to DC, I would want to check it out because it's some sort of. Let me Google it because they were like, "This is a must see when you're in Washington." I was like, "Why have I never heard of this?" I mean, I knew a lot of them were Freemasons, but George Washington Memorial. Oh, the George Washington Masonic National Memorial. Oh, I got you. It's not a museum. It's just that monument is just called the George Washington Masonic National Memorial. Oh, no, it is a museum. Okay. It serves as a museum, library, and active Masonic temple containing artifacts like his clock, Bible, and family items. I mean, that would be pretty sick to go there and check that out. I've never been. Someone said, I read once that Washington was a Freemason who later learned how gross they were and stopped going to meetings. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Here's what I will say, though. The First Amendment is really fire, and the Second Amendment, and a lot of their planning. So, regardless of their affiliation, I do think they built like the really good infrastructure for a good country. And if you read the writings of what they were saying about certain stuff, it felt like they knew that the pitfalls would be coming in the future of sold out politicians. So, I'm very impressed with the founding fathers, regardless of their affiliation or not. Just if, like, who knows what's true, but based off of all the quotes I've read and the books I've read and what they were thinking and how they planned it out, it was a good system to last a really long time. And it seemed like they knew when it was going to fail. Like, politicians are going to do this. They really had it all mapped out. I personally believe they were way smarter than any leaders nowadays. Like, you're supposed to get smarter over time, but I think we're dumber. I think we're at one of the dumbest points in like modern history. I don't, in some ways you could be hyper smart with the internet and stuff, but like this idea that, oh, everyone was cavemen until like the 1900s. I don't know. I feel like they were really smart like a while ago. Smarter. Like, you think Trump's as smart as George Washington? And Trump's like, I'm George Washington. He's so stupid. Trump literally puts his own name in an Andrew Jackson statue. Trump is a buffoon. Literally, like, Trump wouldn't even be fit to like wash the shoes of like John Adams. Yet he's the president of the United States. I'm pretty sure our leaders now, like, imagine like Don Bacon. Dude, Don Bacon literally should be cleaning toilets for George Washington. That guy is a retard and a total sellout to AIPAC and Israel. Yet these are the leaders we have. I'm smart. Dude, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, that one Indian guy who looks like a puppet. He's got like so much plastic surgery. He just looks hella weird. AOC. Yeah, we're smarter now than we were. I don't think any of the founding fathers were as dumb as like 99% of Congress, but who knows? Trump is the opposite of a founding father. All the things that Trump is doing is what the founding fathers said not to do. They're like, you can't put another foreign nation in front of. Here, let me read what George Washington said about like dual loyalty. Trump would call George Washington an anti-Semite. Let me read the exact quote. Let me see. Give me the full quote. Where is it? Farewell address. I can't find it. I'm looking for it. I don't know where it is. Oh well. But basically he was like, you can't favor any foreign nation and you can't excessively hate any foreign nation because then it will like consume or destroy your nation. I'll use AI to find it. Find me link to George Washington farewell address about dual loyalty to foreign nations. Link. Let's see. I need to find a link because sometimes it messes up when it like. I got the whole thing. It's 31 pages though. Let's see. Nation. Foreign. All right. Let's see. I don't know. It's gonna take me a while to find it, but you could look it up if you want. Anomaly, I have the whole speech clipped on my Twitter from Scott Horton reading it. Loyalty quote. Now it's gonna bother me if I can't find it, but I'm spiraling now. I've been searching for minutes. I can't find it. Let's see. He said excessive partiality for one foreign nation and excessive dislike of another cause those whom they actuate to see danger only on one side and to serve to veil and even second the arts of influence on the other. Real patriots who may resist the intrigues of the favorite are liable to become suspected and odious, while its tools and dupes usurp the applause and confidence of the people to surrender their interests. Let me see. It is our true policy to steer clear of entangling alliances with any portion of the foreign world, he said. Trump would be like, George, you're an anti-Semite, okay? I just met with Ellen Dershowitz, okay? I love Ellen, okay? And Miriam Edison, she gave me $250 million. Well, Donald, you're not supposed to take $250 million from a dual passport person that you think likes Israel more than America. George, you're so anti-Semitic, George. You're so stupid, okay? You're so stupid like Tom. You sound like Thomas Massey, okay? You're an anti-Semite, okay? I have a really smart person next to me. His name is Leo Terror, okay? He runs the anti-Semitism division, okay? Hey, sir, it's Leo. Anti-Semitism is my number one cause. I gotta fight it. Okay, calm down, Leo. Okay, I know you just had a Fox News appearance. You must have had caffeine. Oh, he's a funny one, isn't he? What do you mean by one? You know what I mean. You'll be there for Black History Month with all the other blacks that love Trump. Blacks love Trump, don't they? Oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah, blacks for Trump. Oh, we got Nicki Minaj. Oh, Nicki. Sir, who's Nicki Minaj? Oh, George Washington, you're so stupid. Nicki Minaj is only the biggest, most beautiful, smartest, greatest artist of all time who endorses me and she loves me. So, we just watched Melania 4 times. Masterpiece, okay? It's the greatest documentary that's ever come out. I heard that all of the cast of Gone with the Wind resurrected just to say, Melania, we were in Gone with the Wind, but you're better. We're so jealous. And then they went back to their grave. And I said, thank you guys so much for voting for me. You get it? Because they're dead. Dead people vote. Okay, it's rigged. It's a rigged election. Okay. But George, we have to work for Israel. Okay. You don't understand, George. We need to work for Israel, have law enforcement train in Israel. ICE needs to work with Israel. We need our immigration policy to reflect you have to be loyal to Israel to get a green card. Okay. Well, Trump, definitely that's not how America. Okay, listen, okay, you're talking too much. We need to enforce the anti-Semitism speech law, and I don't like that musket you're carrying. Okay, I think we need to. I think we need to pass a law that says we could confiscate before the court case. Okay, because you're looking a little crazy in D.C. with that musket. No muskets in D.C. But Donald, that's how we founded the country. It's mine now. Okay, I control the country. I make the monuments. I put my name in Andrew Jackson's statue. Okay, Trump Jackson. That was his name. Okay, that's what your kids are going to be learning, Mr. Washington. Someone said, "Bro's a yapper." What else am I supposed to do, bro? It's a podcast. I've been here for 3 hours and 30 minutes. Am I supposed to not talk on my own podcast? I'm supposed to just bore 500 people to sleep right now? Is that what you want me to do? Take a nap? Here, I'll take a nap. You done, dude? Can I get back to my show now? Where's that guy who was like hyped up? He's like, come on, dude, let's talk about the Epstein files. Fuck you, bro. Let's fucking talk about it. I was like, dude, what kind like it would be like equivalent to like going into a comedy show. It's like a comedy show's an hour in. There's 15 minutes left, and you just pop through the doors like, hey, do that first joke again, bro. Do that first joke again, bro. I need to hear that first joke real quick. It's like, bro. Really? Is that really what you're gonna like? You know, it's not. It's a weird. It's not how we act here. We're very We're very sophisticated goyim on this show, and we have some non-goyim. We love all the people. We love the goyim, the non-goyim. You know what I'm saying? We love all nations of the world, but I'm a sophisticated cattle. Trump put his name on a Jackson as a dog whistle. I don't know if it's a dog whistle. I just think he's like, I mean, you can think what you want, but I just think he's like really selfish where he's just like, Andrew Jackson was just like me. We were both unfairly treated by the media. Okay, bro. So you're just going to write your name on his statue because you were both mistreated by the media? All your friends own the media now. They're literally buying up the media and you're like suing everybody. He's like, I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. Hey, Trump, I'm going to sue you. No, I'm on your team. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I was going to sue you. My bad. You're just like suing everybody. I want to make a joke. I'll just make the joke. I don't want to get I don't want to get deported, but my joke was ever since Mark Levin said he was the first Jewish president, it's been a lot of extra lawsuits. I'm just saying, maybe Mark Levin was right. But all right, sorry. The feds are at my door, guys. I gotta get shipped away now. Dude, if you love the Palestinians so much, why don't we ship you there so then we could bomb you and drone strike you? Why don't you want that? Well, why would I want to go there? You literally just blew up the entire city and genocided them and are going to steal it. Doesn't mean you're right. It just means I don't want to die. I don't know. Is that okay? Trevor Noah messed up. See, this is the problem with Trump is like he's more likable than Trevor Noah. So then it like to most people it's like Trump versus Trevor Noah. It's like, yeah, I'll take Trump. If it were a fantasy draft or like who do you want with your first pick? Trump or Trevor Noah? It's like, dude, I would pick a toothbrush before I pick Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah is so annoying. He's not funny. He's super annoying. You know? I don't even know why he's famous. He's just one of those kids. I bet in school that he was like annoying and everyone hated him. Like and they're like, Trevor, leave me alone. You know, like he was that kid. You could just tell because he's like not talented, not funny, but he played the game well. He tried really hard. He's a hard trier. He's got a good work ethic. Good work ethic, Trevor. Good job. You got famous in America. Cool. Good job. Someone said Roy Cohn was Epstein before Epstein. I mean, I don't know about that. That's a conspiracy theory. That's anti-Semitism. Oh my gosh, I got to do an apology tour. I can't read another comment. I didn't mean to read that comment. I need to go apologize to Ben Shapiro in Poland. Why did I read that comment? Okay, guys, I'm in Poland. Ben Shapiro, I'm really sorry. You definitely don't control the world, but I don't know why I'm here. Why am I in a foreign country apologizing to Ben Shapiro? I'm Elon Musk, damn it. You know, I don't know. How did that happen? Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, but he needs to go on a Ben Shapiro apology tour in freaking a foreign land. He's like, I'm sorry for tweeting at night when I was messed up. Yeah, listen, that's right. That's right. You do apologize. Wait, why is Ben Shapiro there? Listen, I'm just here because I'm just a journalist and I'm just journaling. And I'm just gonna say, as a journalist, I think that we need to bomb Iran really bad because they're like, I really hate the people there, but I also really love the people there. It's like really confusing because like I really want to bomb them, but at the same time, I really sympathize with the people there. I think the women are being mistreated, and we really need to just go in and spread freedom there. Okay. Ben, what do you think about Candace Owens? Do you remember her, your former coworker, Kenneth? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Oh, no. Candace Owens. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. I mean, the worst anti-Semite ever. I mean, you know, I would say the only anti-Semite worse than her was like, you know, Jesus' followers when they were like, oh, my gosh, like, why don't you believe in Jesus? And I was like, oh, my gosh, that's anti-Semitic. And then, you know, we started holding a grudge for 2,000 years. And now we got the really stupid Christians to pass the speech laws for us because they like money a lot. And it's just like, oh my God, that's so bad. I mean, Candace is like the most anti-Semitic person since Jesus. Oh, you all right, Ben? I was just simple question. I don't know. It's not a big deal. No, I'm fine. It's anti-Semitism. What's anti-Semitism? Everything, all the time. I need money. All right, bro. Whatever. Dude, this show sucks now. I used to like that show. An anomaly and Coach Colin would be great. Who's Coach Colin? Is that like a coach I'm not aware of? Welcome to the Ben Shapiro Show. Today we're talking about regime change in Venezuela. Oh, it's so good. It's so good for them. So good for them to be regime changed. Oh my God, it's going to really help them so much. Oh my gosh, oil. Oh, I mean, people is helping them something. We need to invade Greenland for America. I meant America. I didn't mean to say another country. Oh my gosh. I said the other country. Oh my gosh. I made a mistake. All right. Ben Shapiro. Yeah, let's listen to Ben. Let me find. No, I can't find a clip I was looking for, but we'll keep the good times going. Coach Commentary Podcast. I've never heard of it, but okay. Congrats to him. Elon means oak tree, symbolizing strength, endurance, and stability, derived from the Hebrew word for oak. Okay. Well, Elon the oak tree. He definitely gets up like an oak tree, if you know what I mean. He's got a lot of baby mamas. Ha ha ha. See what I did there? Oh, man. Listen, someone's got to say it. Got a lot of baby mamas. He's trying to repopulate the earth, but not be there for his kids full time because he's busy. So then the kids end up turning trans, and then he gets mad, even though if he was actually in their lives, maybe it wouldn't have happened. But, I guess it's everybody else's fault when you just have a bunch of kids and aren't there. But, to each their own. He's a cool guy. But that's, not that I'm in any position to give advice, especially on this topic, but I do feel like, if you have a lot of kids and you're not present in their life, you're doing a disservice to them. So you can't act like it's everyone else's fault. Like if you want your kids to grow up the way you want them to, you gotta have one wife, stay with them. But just my opinion. Someone said, I really like the podcast you did with Eric Griffin. I think you helped him understand the political landscape. I like Eric. Eric's been cool to me. So yeah, I'd be down to talk to Eric again. He's funny, man. Eric, he's a comedian. He does really well. I used to love the Workaholics. That was like one of my favorite shows in college. And it was so cool when Eric hit me up or followed me. I was like, oh, dude, I know Eric from that. And he's a funny comedian too. So yeah, that was cool getting to talk to him. I'd love to talk to Jim Brewer again. I love Jim. Jim's awesome. Someone said, anybody that attacks Anomaly is I'm not going to read the two things. You got to add Boomer to that too, because not all boomers, but a lot of boomers attack me too. And they're not affiliated with those two groups, but seems accurate. Elon's not the richest. In 2023, they said the Rothschilds had a network of the 20 trillion. Did they really say that or no? I mean, obviously there's probably people with more money. I don't know how much the money the Saudis have, but they got to have more money than Elon too. But who knows? Someone said Epstein antibiotic files up next. I don't know what that means. Workaholics is an amazing show. If you watch Workaholics now, it's just as funny as it used to be. I feel like it aged really well. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm hungry. I've gone long enough. So appreciate y'all. That was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed this. And just before I leave, I want to let people know I had a longer Epstein video that not longer than this, but I'm talking about I had a 14-minute top 10 video. But I made a slight error. I didn't realize that David Stern wasn't the NBA commissioner named David Stern. It's someone with the same name. So what I should have done, because it probably would have 50,000 views by now, but I should have just deleted. There's a way in YouTube to just delete that small part. That's all I had to do. But I kind of just panicked and I took it all down. And then I re-uploaded it in short form with it's only 3 minutes long. But I was thinking to myself, I don't like to make any errors and I want to fully correct it. But also it's I don't know. It was a good video. I think it was one of my best ones ever, but it is what it is. The shorter version's there and it has, for historical purposes, it has the emails in there. So I think over time, that's really what matters. Although I did have a banger video. I really should have just left it up, but it's whatever. The shorter versions on Instagram and Facebook and all that. I didn't upload it on TikTok because I'm not trying to get arrested. So TikTok would probably ban it in 5 seconds, and then I'd get a call from Howard Lutnick. Just kidding. He wouldn't call me, but I did a video on Epstein and Howard Lutnick. Nothing crazy, literally just like his interview talking about it. And they took that down. Like anything I talk about on TikTok now about like anything involving that they don't allow. So I don't know. Appreciate y'all. Hope you had fun. I had a blast. Yelp review 5 stars for me. Let me know how it was for you. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. And I'll just let people know real quick. I still have these hats. We have I need to like start actually wearing these, but since it's winter, I just wear my beanie all the time. When it's hotter, I'll wear these again. But God is great. God bless. Yeah, I'm cold and it's winter season now, so I'm beanied up. But I got these hats as well. I got black hats of these. They're all made in America. Check out some of my hats at dreamrare.com. Dream Rare, spelled like that. You see that? Look at that. Look at that right there. That's a D. That's a R. E-A-M as in Mary. R-A-R-E. Dream Rare. You just add a .com at the end of that. And that's dreamrare.com. Then you just get one of my hats. It'll get delivered to you pretty quickly, probably within a week or two. And then, you'll have the hat and you'll support the show. And I'll go through my inventory because I bought a lot of hats, folks. So dreamrare.com. Thanks to anybody getting one. And they're made in America. What I will say, when I wear my merch, not so much my Dream Rare merch. I mean, I have gotten a compliment on this, but when I wear like God bless, like on a sweatshirt or a hat, people always compliment it. They're always like, I love your hat. I love your hat. I love that. I love that. And I always tell them I make it. And then I'm a nice guy. So I'm always like, I would give you one for free if I didn't have it. And they're like, oh, shoot, we'll buy it. And I was like, no, it's cool. I got a lot of them. So, but anyway, I'm getting on some huge rant. What I'm trying to say is anytime I wear these hats or the merch that say God bless, like people always compliment it more than any other clothes I wear. And it's a very wholesome compliment. They're like, I love that, so it's a vibe. Trust me, it's a vibe. Get one for yourself, meet some people that love the Lord. And for those that don't love the Lord, I have some other shirts that don't include that on my thing. And by my thing, I mean my website. And by my website, I mean dreamrare.com. So hopefully that was a smooth ad. It probably could have been better, but it's all good. Dream Rare Podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll be back soon. And a lot more where that came from. I just do want to say this too. I don't know that I have to, but it's whatever. I've gone this long. Another minute's not going to do anything. A lot of people say like, I don't see your stuff. Like on Instagram, I have a lot of followers, but they don't show it all the time to followers. So it is what it is, but it's like, I built a following just for them to not even care about followers anymore. But I'm, not to defend myself that I even need to, but like things are going well. Like my Facebook page yesterday had like 15 million views on my posts. I think my Epstein video is up to like 500,000-600,000 views. I just do things all over the place. So it's like, if you don't see it, if you really that badly want to see stuff, like you don't have to, because I don't care that much. But if you really do want to see stuff, I'm just like spreading it out all over the place. Like sometimes my Twitter's going off. Sometimes my Facebook's going off. Sometimes it's my Instagram. Sometimes it's my YouTube. So you can find all my links. Like if you go to dreamrarelinks.com, you can find all my links. And if you like really want to see my stuff, I'm talking every day somewhere. It's just, I don't have the capacity right now to do it like everywhere all the time. So people don't see it, but I see it because I'm doing it. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day.